What a start. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm pretty sure that peaked out the volume. Let me just take a quick second here, make sure everything is set properly. I could have done that before I went live, and it looks like I only just stopped hosting pods, so hopefully you weren't subjected to that racket. If you were, I apologize. Alright, I was doing some silly things, so we'll get rid of this one. I want to play this one. Never mind what that one is. Alright. We return to the story of the Valen polity. Now there's a couple of things that I have learned. Ah yes. I think I'm just going to have to say goodbye to the Zukukan Cabal and the Blessed Alari Grand Duchy. This is the one that we did as a small introduction to Distant Stars. And I'm sure I'll return to it at some point. But this is going to be my main game, and we can do the species histories and such a little bit later on. One thing I have learned about some of my playthroughs, I'm not sure if this is true for all of them, but since they changed the difficulty settings, it does appear that I have been playing on the lowest difficulty setting, which would probably explain why I found a few of those wars very easy. So apologies for that, but my view is that if you play... So if you're starting, that's actually a really great decision to do... to do an early look for, sorry, not an early, to do an easier difficulty, because the game becomes a little bit more of a sandbox. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a cakewalk when you first play it, but it does mean that some of the things that might be a source of, it does mean that some of the things that might be sort of a source of frustration, like, you know, just barely on the end, you know, you're not able to seal the deal on a war goal or something like that. That's going to be happening a little bit less. Neighbors will probably not be invading you constantly. Basically, all the bonuses for the AI are removed, but of course, that means that the AI is left with machine logic, which doesn't necessarily match up as well against humans, for now at least. With that in mind, let's jump into the Valen polity. We will read up as to what their history was. I will confess, I got some very well-meaning but actually devastating feedback. So I had said, you know, I kind of have felt like the backstories that I have for all of these species have been sort of on a downward path, that they haven't been as good as some of the first ones that I did. And the person I was speaking with, and this is definitely not a complaint about the person, it was just one of these moments where somebody's encouraging you and it turns out that, like, I was really screwing this up. But basically I'd said, you know, I just feel like I'm not being that exciting, or it's not as interesting as some of those first ones that I did. And they said, well, you know, you've been doing the same thing a few times over, so that's probably why that feels stale. And I don't know how obvious this is, but actually I have thought that I've been doing very diverse species. So, hey. Johnny Big Time, thank you very much for that host. Johnny is... I don't know if he's casting this week because he has got an absolutely horrifying schedule ahead of him. But he is somebody I can strongly recommend that you guys check out. He is a very gifted caster, very gifted entertainer. He's always got something to say. He's got an amazing attitude. I have seen him put up with absolute nonsense, both on and off cast, and deal with it with a grace and dignity that I really could stand to learn. He is a ton of fun to play games with. He is also one of the most open-minded in terms of just the types of games that he plays. He paid me a really nice compliment on a couple of his shoutouts where he says he learns more about his cast by listening to me talk about it, and it's kind of cursed some of my shoutouts because I feel like I'm repeating the same stuff, but I'll share. I mean, insofar as it's helpful to Johnny, who's here, but I always tend to find that I'm able to shout people out by explaining why I like their stuff, the same way that I feel like I can cast Stellaris by telling you guys what I like about that game. You know, it's not just that Johnny is really open-minded in terms of gaming, and I always like to say that he can find the fun in any game. So I don't think XCOM is the sort of thing that he will normally play, but when he played XCOM, he played it to the hilt. One thing that I actually really like about Johnny, which I don't think I've told him about one specific cast, but it's actually, I think, a very general thing, is there's a purity to his reactions. Like, I think there's absolutely no pretense in anything that Johnny does, which is both a source of hilarity as well as why I think I continually enjoy what he plays, regardless of like a battle royale style game like Fortnite or PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or XCOM. He will absolutely say what is on his mind. So while I love XCOM and it's this great pillar of amazing game design or something like that, you know, when Johnny is getting hit by absolutely insane RNG and just getting pulverized by the introduction of the mutons, he has got this absolutely awe-inspiring rant about exactly what he was feeling in those moments. And it's one of these things that I feel like if I were to develop a game, I would really want Johnny to play it, even if it wasn't something that was normally his thing, because I would get the most honest feedback and probably still have a big smile on my face by the end of it. And where that really becomes a highlight is when he does E3, because there were some presentations at E3 where, like, again, everybody's just falling over themselves with how, you know, how amazing this experience is or how good this game is going to be. And Johnny's just sitting there. It's like, I don't know what this game is about. That was a really cool movie that I'm not doing him justice, but like to see a trade show that is just dedicated to this complete pageantry. Like, I can remember when they did the Darwin Project and, like, they do this trailer and all of a sudden there's a man shouting at me. Like, I always find that sort of stuff ridiculous. And just Johnny has got this amazing wit and this absolutely fearless ability to just say what everybody really should be thinking in that moment. And he just cuts through BS like, you know, like a knife. It's amazing. So, I get a lot of fun watching him play stuff. I like that we enjoy enough games. Like I like that we have enough overlap in terms of the games that we enjoy that I have a chance to play games off cast with him. But again, he's one of the most consistent entertainers I know. I've never seen him do a bad cast, even when he's not been feeling 100%, and I knew that. He went through it like a trooper, and he's honestly somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect, both in terms of how much work that he puts into his cast, as well as the consistency of the quality. So, anyways, speaking of lack of quality, the Valen polity is founded on highly democratic principles and very closed minds. Vaelgar is home to a very active public discourse that follows highly predictable and conservative lines of thought. Despite this, it has also produced some of the galaxy's finest scientists. When confronted with new concepts, Valen will process the thought to make it orthodox, but once it has done so, few can deny the tremendous feats of ingenuity that result. The creatures from Vaelgar present the galaxy with a paradox, a race of highly capable scientists and explorers who mistrust and devalue everything that they find. So basically, this is an egalitarian, xenophobe empire. The idea here is that these are people who exist in basically thought bubbles, and they just conquered a bunch of people, which is cool. But basically, they will be capable of great again, great feats of engineering. They'll be able to understand things and develop them well, but it will always sort of be on their terms. They will never actually. They will always have to. Basically, the trait that they have to sort of represent this is they're slow learners. So the idea is that there's some cognitive effort that is spent sort of processing an idea, but once that warm-up period is gone there, they can like really grind through through sort of thoughts and concepts and ideas, and as a result they're traditional and intelligent, which probably require no elaboration. Right now we have so our racist space cats, the very first species that they ran into were some space birds, and we own their empire, and we're kicking them off their worlds. What I really love about this playthrough is that we've been coming up with this story about how like mistrustful we should be of everything, and how scary the universe is. What, every time we encounter something, it's just another bit of bad news that we haven't run into yet. And so far, not only have we run into species that it's entirely appropriate for us to hate, but usually when we run into things, they wind up being this really bad news and such. So for instance, the species that we've run into now is authoritarian spiritualists, so they're fanatical authoritarian, no less. So we're basically not going to get along with these people. And so it goes. The plan right now is to get my fleets back in order. Actually, let's do this the proper way. So we'll go through our alerts. We'll go through our outliner, and we'll sort of talk about what our plans are going to be for the next little while. So we've got debris to study. Apparently none of my ships are working on that, so that's a problem. There we go. They're exploring, which is what I want them to do. And they're exploring as well, which is what I want to do there. Okay, timed events done. Unrest. Now this is going to be a little bit of a problem. It's at 62, so it's not terrible. And you can see this is representing a ceiling. So see all of these tiles which haven't been worked? Well, that's kind of the deal with this migration. Normally, I would love to try and occupy the planet and enslave everyone. But the fact of the matter is, I really don't have any way of keeping order. It seems that all of the armies that I'm keeping on that planet really aren't keeping it in order. So until I can find a better way of distributing undesirables amongst my empire, I effectively had to kick them off. Like, sure, they'll reform on some other planet. That's fine. I'm not genocidal, but we don't want them here. In this case, this planet will be this planet will no longer be populated after a while. So the 62 is something I should be worried about, but it will ultimately resolve itself over time. The 62 is the highest value this would take. We do have an alert about an inactive building, which is funny because it seems that all of my this will upset the apple cart a little bit, but I'm gonna put him in there. So hopefully I'll spawn a new creature on the tile before too long. It looks like we've got about a year and however long it takes me to grow that new pop there. I actually need to consider some other means of food production as well. I think I'm doing some upgrades to that effect, so we should be in reasonably good shape. As far as this planet is concerned, this primitive factory. So I guess we took this. Oh nope, this is the. Yeah, we're booting There are ancient robots still functioning on this planet, left behind when the civilization that created them perished. Actually, so there's two things we can do. We can either terraform these planets, or we can colonize them with robots. But we already have more land that we can colonize with our own species, so we're okay there. Yeah. So basically, the main worries about inactive buildings are the planets that we're kicking the aliens off of. So we're good there. We have investigated a system. I'm happy with that. The Eyes of Sin. It's lovely to see you again. I did shout out the Buttery Man Crumpet a little bit earlier, so he can give you a ranking out of 10 as for the quality of the shout out, and I'll tell you if he's lying or not. Okay, one of the important thing is before I go too far on this, we had a pretty strong militaristic start, but the cost has been I've not really been developing my world, so especially having conquered so much territory, what I want to be focusing on now is putting a lot of this production that I've got towards basically building up my population, getting more resources to work, having them just generally be more productive and useful, while also expanding out. So there is one thing over here that I'm going to talk about briefly, but one of the ways that I like to start as well is just to take a quick look at each of the systems. We already worked on this one here. Ferrathon Secundus is currently being colonized. Ferrathon Prime is a new colony. We've kind of already got things where we want them to be right now. Tavaldra is something we won't be able to colonize. So the habitability for a Valon is only 20%, so we won't actually be able to inhabit this world. And similar story with this planet, Kemsaya. So I believe it's these two. Yes. These two will be closed off to me, so we're going to be a little bit more focused in this area. And one of my next expansion attempts is going to be in this system here because of the size 17 Alpine world. Shipyard-wise, Viridian Station as a trading hub and a shipyard, which is exactly the way that I want it. Kemjun Station, which is up here, is currently a shipyard and an anchorage. Now that's because that was the former capital of a species that no longer is a going concern. I may want to convert this to something else, because right now this is just a station in the middle of space, but of course this is going to be a bit convenient for me if I go to war with these guys. So I'm going to keep this station as it is right now. Ferrathon Base has a couple of obvious upgrades. So for Ferrathon, I don't really need another shipyard because it's so close to my capital that already has one. But building something like a trading hub and an anchorage will allow me to leverage more of my my military resources, because right now I've got a cap that'll give me basically a size 10 fleet to augment my existing fleets with. And Bera Station is currently being upgraded. Notice that there is a habitable world here, so before too long, we're gonna build another colony ship and send it off to Bera to be colonized. In the meantime, there's a few things. So I had a big rush for territory, and I'm sort of dealing with the hangover for that right now. So this ship should be building an outpost here before too long. And do I have 2 or 3 construction ships? It looks like I have 3. So this one should be also building a... this one is actually more so to deal with pirates more than anything. But basically plugging up these holes. And then I do at some point want to start... I kind of want to start colonizing these areas proper. We've got a nice little natural boundary of the alien metis. That's probably the robot miners, but it'll take 35 months to study them. So I'm going to hold off for now. We'll sort of examine everything around the area. And yeah, just the general plan is going to be try and seize as many resources as possible. Essentially, take those turns that we were building up our... sorry, one second. take those turns where we were building up our navies and, get some colonization in, use those resources more towards building up our infrastructure, both energy and minerals-wise, and sort of prepare for the next war. Now, I'm not going to try and go too crazy with what's going on here, but when we finished our cast last week, we saw... So this is a fairly desirable system because it's got 8 energy resources, and one of them is a nice size 4 sun. And then we had this area. Now, one thing you may notice about... I think if I hit the Alt key... Yeah. You can sort of see the special resources in that. You'll notice that special resources are quite a bit more rare in this DLC, and the neat thing here is that the Aldar crystals, if we take this system from them, they don't actually have access to any other special resources. And then on top of that, we actually have a fairly decent choke point to defend ourselves with. So we add quite a few resources to our monthly production, and also deny them basically something to hit us with later on. So I'm very tempted to go to war just over these 2 systems. I could, of course, attempt more, but we'll see about that at the time. Because the one thing that I'm a little reluctant to do is to try and take too many populated systems. The main reason for that would be that's going to be a bit more of an extended war. I'm going to have to dedicate some troops towards that. And if I'm not able to sustain that campaign, that just means that, 1, I may not achieve my war goals, or 2, if I win, I am going to have a slightly more difficult position to defend. Of course, the alternative is I could just go crazy, take everything sort of to the south here, and say, okay, I have Sastrum, so basically we've got a gun pointed straight at your capital. Well, I'm probably not going to do that, but we'll see. All right, let's also take a quick look at the Electoral Freedom Watch. They're happy because there's everything going on here, but the, the Valen Preservation Movement is not too happy. So core world exclusivity. Well, the good news there is that the Xenos will be booted off of that for a while. Well, we don't have any migration treaties, so we're happy there, and we are standing alone. And okay, so as long as I boot the Xenos off of my home worlds, I'll be happy. That'll be a little bit difficult in terms of the way that I manage my slaves. But we'll see what we can do. Oh, guys, Johnny Big Time and Kite 260 are both. Sorry, just a second here. Both of you are very kind in terms of the attention. You're making up some deficits that I have in terms of internet attention. So. All right, I think I kind of talked a little bit about the plan. So right now, I know that I'm going to take the opportunity. Thank you so much, Isaacson. So we kind of had a rough outline in terms of what the next few turns are going to be about. Oh, Kite 260. I don't know if he's inside here or if he just retweeted out the stream, but he's a real gentleman, and another guy who has an absolutely unimpeachable character. So we talked a little bit about what the strategy is going to be. We want to try and deny resources from an enemy. The main reason I want to do that is that they have a weaker fleet than me, so now is the time to do, at the very least, to do like little hits on them. I don't want to do like a big slugger, because they might get strong enough to defend themselves. But if I can sort of present them with a fast attack and sort of present them with, if I can just gobble up their systems in time and sort of present them with, come and take them, then I should be in a fairly good spot. But I think the main focus is going to be on more exploration. We're specifically looking for some of the new Distant Stars content. And I'm going to be building up my infrastructure. Oh, actually, looks like we've already got a ship on the way to colonizing, so we're in much better shape than I thought we would be. And I think at long last I can finally unpause the game. And as always, guys, if you have any questions about the game, I've got 2 people who I know felt very overwhelmed by this game, and I don't blame you. So if there's anything I can do to try and help and make it a little bit more intelligible, I would love to do that, because one of the main reasons I still stream is that I oh, you know what? I sent these ships to do the exact same mission. All right, let me think a little bit about what my science goals are. Okay, so this ship's now going to be responsible for exploring this stuff. So notice, I know that there's destinations outside of this system, but with the new exploration system, you're not able to see too far ahead. Nobody new type, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So right now we're just kind of, most of this is just trying to get the contours of the space. This guy got kicked out of this area. So our main idea with him right now is to investigate these anomalies and, again, just take a quick look. I know that these are all blocked off because you can see that there's no paths on the way out. So essentially he's going to do a big loop, and then we'll move to this system to investigate what's going on there.
We have mastered a new technology.
Orbital systems of mirrors and shades can affect dramatic changes in the planetary climates when managed properly. Alright, as far as research is concerned, I tend to like to go for the low-cost options. And in particular, I like Heritage Site because it's going to give me some more unity. As nice as it would be to clear out the volcanoes, I'm not entirely sure I'm able to justify 122 months researching that. And I think I'll boost the speed up a little bit just so we can process all of this. So this is going to be a little bit of a wait. Our main goals right now are going to be to heal up this this fleet. We'll combine them with the first Star Order. Actually, what I should have done was, yeah, I should have moved them straight up here, and we would have had them pointed at our enemies. Why do they sometimes turn red instead of yellow? That's an excellent question. Let me just read this anomaly and we'll see if we can find that out together, nobody new type, because I don't have a good answer to that myself at the moment. What was previously thought to be assorted mountains in the southern hemisphere of Cypharis 4 have been identified as the massive skeletal remains of a single colossal alien life form. The bones have been dated as 3.4 billion years old, but our scientists have ruled out that Cypharis 4 could have supported life on that scale at any point in the planet's history. Science officer Abel, son of Thub, has prepared a special research project to delve further into this mystery. Okay. Oop, that's not what I'm looking for. Alright. So what I will normally do here is I'll go to the wiki. Now the drawback with the wiki in the game is when I'm streaming, the mouse is offset. So I'm just going to do this myself. I always thought it was something to do with them being damaged, but... Oh, that's right. Okay. So I believe nobody new type. Now, again, I haven't tested this extensively, but I seem to remember looking this up before. If you ever go into the fleet manager, so let's take the first Star Order as an example. I should be able to... Yeah, here we go. So let's try and do something crazy with this. Oh, here's a perfect example. Oh, does it say that there's already 20 inside here? It says 7 out of 7 is max. Okay. Let's, I need to try, I'm trying to create a little bit of an experiment here for you. I'm failing at it though, so, okay. We'll reduce them down to 4. And we're going to boost, nope. So I believe what the red is supposed to signify is, you'll notice here that it's giving you some like expectations in terms of what the strength should be. Basically, if you're not at full strength, it's going to give you red as an indicator that you're at partial strength. So if you don't use the fleet manager, you don't need to worry about that number. If you do use the fleet manager, it's just a convenient little heuristic for telling you, hey, you might want to cool it on whatever, you know, whatever thing is or like that thing you were doing to go and attack them. Maybe hold off on that if you were expecting this to be at full strength. So basically, it's like I would kind of have assumed that this would have told me I'm at partial strength. I mean, I'm 13 of 20. But for whatever reason, that's not below the threshold. So, did that make sense? I can try and be a little clearer on it, but that's basically what it's telling you is your fleet, as it understands the way that you want it to be, is not as strong as it should be. But whether or not you told... I mean, the big thing is if you didn't tell the computer it should be that strong, like, you don't need to worry about it. And my experience with that tool is normally I haven't told it... I normally haven't told it to build a fleet in a particular way. All right. Sorry about that. And I've been sitting on a lot of resources, so let's build that starbase here. And where's my other construction ship? You can build a starbase here. Everything else is good. Usually do the auto best. Are you talking about the ship designer here? Something like that? That's slightly different. So this is basically, building an individual ship. And the fleet manager...
We have mastered a new technology.
So basically, I don't think there's an auto best for this, but basically this is saying is like, okay, I want a default fleet template of saying, you know, 20 Corvettes
Debris
in this. Basically, that's what that number's referring to. So if you haven't actually built a fleet inside that fleet manager, you probably don't need to worry about the number. Ah, here, perfect. Okay. So once I told the fleet manager to look for it, it's red now, right? And I bet if I go to the fleet manager and I say, you know what, I'm okay with 7, it became yellow. So if you don't use this screen, don't worry too much about it not looking right. All right, so let's take a look at some research to do. I'm already on my way for gravatic sensors, and you guys know how much I like sensors, but it's 2205, which is kind of expensive. I can get basic combat rolls, which will make my ships better, and that's at 1470. So I can spend 24 months or I can spend 36 months. Tempting, but I'll spend the 24 months on basic combat rolls in this case. Okay, so this fleet's been repaired.
Construction complete.
We'll all gather in that system. All right, so this ship's done building, and in this particular case, I'm gonna exploit as many resources as I can. I'm gonna start with a mining station, or sorry, with the energy, and then we'll move on to the minerals. Let's see what else we're working at. Okay, we got a mining station here. So in this case, I'm kind of just cleaning up the for this particular system, I'm just cleaning up the. Whoa, hello. We received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Lyrite Assembly of Planets. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Alright, they're egalitarian materialists. I think we can get along except for the fact that we're space racists, so we don't get along with anybody. Greetings. I have been chosen by the chairwoman Torba Murok to represent the Lyrite Assembly of Planets in all diplomatic dealings with your people. We strive to unlock the full potential of technology, and you would do well not to interfere with our pursuit of knowledge. So you could say, alien scum, we pursue true equality, do not stand in our way. Or, we do not take kindly to your sort. In this case, we'll do the egalitarian angle. We've learned of a new strategic resource encountered on B12677 in the territories of the Lyrite Assembly of Planets. Alright, what are we looking at here? Ooh, that's one that I would actually really want. So yeah, we get... Okay, so they don't like our slavery policy. They don't like the fact that we're xenophobic bigots. They do like that we're free egalitarianists. They don't like that we close the borders on them. Well, you know what? I think we can... We'll allow them for that. Your hospitality and trust are appreciated. These guys might be useful to us. And we'll form a non-aggression pact. Again, we're not bloodthirsty. We're just suspicious. So we'll say, okay, we have a common enemy. We'll make this work. But don't you dare shoot us. All right. We're unable to attack each other while this is in effect. This will increase their trust of us by 50 each month to a maximum of 50. Yeah, we'll work with that. I mean, they're hideous creatures. Don't get me wrong. Like, I will not feel bad about squishing them like the bugs they are if they even look at me the wrong way. But for now, they're cool. And looks like the second star order is wasting energy by not actually sitting in the dock. Alright, I've been wasting resources as well because Ferrothon should have a trading hub. And that's that for now. We cannot see what either of us would stand to win from a war. We agree to a pact of non-aggression. Our continued studies of the massive skeletal remains on Cypheris 4 have managed to shed some light on how the creature ended up on the planet. There are very faint residual energy readings that indicate some kind of dimensional portal existed briefly towards the rear of the skeleton. Science Officer Abel, son of Thub, theorizes that the creature passed through this gateway from another dimension, only to quickly perish in the hostile environment of Cypheris 4. Why it did this, and where it came from, are questions that may never be answered. By the way, did anybody see the comment that basically said I talk too much on YouTube, and that said they basically challenged my education? Because that was a fun one. All right, some experience in physics research for that effort. We're generally okay. I mean, it says that we can build on territories. The problem is that it's building on minerals. So I'd either give up the minerals or...
Colonization efforts begun.
I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with that yet. Looks like we've got our next colony on our way, so it'll be okay for energy. I am actually, out of everything, I'm most worried about my food situation. Our science officer has found an anomaly. It will require extensive probing, but it could garner a substantial find. So for those of you who haven't seen the new DLC, this guy's got skill 4. He's currently looking at a level 3 anomaly. So in this case, he gets a reduction in the time that it takes to research that anomaly. You can't fail anomalies and blow up your ships anymore, which I think is a very welcome change.
We have claimed a new world for our people.
Excellent. We had a few things that are happening here. So, all right, so new election coming up. We have finished the colony, so we're happy there. I'm going to take a quick minute on Ferrothon. All right, so Prime is good. Combat's fast. And in this case, I have to give up half my energy to do so, but I'm going to do it because it has food, which is an important resource for me. And then on Ferrothon Secundus, that is exactly where I want that guy to be built. So in this case, as much as I want to do the Autothon monuments, and I think I'm going to sacrifice one of these... Well, no, actually we'll hold off because we can remove that volcano later. Food is a slightly higher priority for me than... it's a slightly higher priority to me than Unity at the moment. And I've never had an empire run out of food. I don't know what happens. I'm assuming pops start dying. Or at least they get unhappy.
Construction complete.
Alright, that's good news. So again, we'll continue to exploit the resources. We're doing okay energy-wise now, so I think I'm going to take Dwakan 2 first because
Anomaly found.
it's just so good in terms of science. There are signs of activity by
Situation
an
log updated.
ancient precursor civilization on this inhospitable rock. And then Anak, son of Inthic, has been elected president of the Valen polity. Alright. Oh. Okay, so he was a scientist on one of my science ships, which is remarkably inconvenient. Or was he? Alright, we'll see. The planet Pragar 2 is the home of a marvel of nature. Giant colorful explosions appear in the sky, a result of the chemical composition of the atmosphere reacting to the sun's gamma rays. Students and senior scientists alike are spreading this find like a wildfire. It has generated quite a spark of interest for the scientific field in the scientific field amongst our people. So this will give me a bonus to survey speeds as well as anomaly research, which is a nice one for getting through.
Tile blocker cleared.
It's helpful for getting through some of this stuff in a timely fashion. Alright. Docile 2b is uninhabited and indeed uninhabitable, but not unvisited. The surface is littered with tall cenotaphs carved from some mineral not native to the planet, evidently placed here by some artistically inclined spacefaring race. The monolith's flowing lines definitely chart a history so fantastical that it must surely be fictional. Surely. What we're going to do once these fleets are combined, we'll upgrade them and then we'll see where we're at as far as the fleet power is concerned. I don't want to tip my hand in terms of how I'm going to blow them up. You did not hear about that. You just don't understand people sometimes. Well, that just happened today. But yeah, it was basically... Well, I can find the comment actually. Why not? Give them their 15 minutes of fame. I mean, my reply wasn't exactly... perfect, but all right, so this was to the 7-hour Cultist Simulator cast, so the only comment on it, 17 likes, no dislikes, so that's nice. Dexter Kane says, "You talk entirely too much. Of course, if you're an arts major, this can be excusable." So naturally, I wanted to take a look. So what is Dexter Kane contributing to the world? Here there is a video automating box opening in Marvel Sum game. So I'm like, okay, I can work with that. So I said, if you wanted a bit on difference equations, you only needed to ask. Tell you what, next time that I need some loot boxes opened, I'll look you up and I promise not to talk. I bet you even studied really hard for that too. To which Dexter Kane, Mr. You've got an arts degree, so that's what allows you to babble on like an idiot. But those are like some random words that make no sense together, aren't they? Well, if it's some elaborate trick to make one feel left out of the meta, it certainly worked. So, a pro tip for future trolls. Generally, it is not the done thing to try and insult one's education and then confess ignorance. To their credit, they did confess ignorance. But yeah, that was a very strange encounter. And it's actually the first time I've gotten something nasty on a Cultist Simulator
System
video.
survey complete.
Normally they are really, normally they're really warm and encouraging. It's one of the reasons I really like doing Cultist Simulator content.
Construction complete.
And as much as I like Nowhere Profit, actually, that was the other one where I got the like you need to shut up video or responses, which okay. I mean, the thing is, I don't have a camera though, so it's not much of a stream. My view is that if you want the commentary free version, and I don't blame you, you can buy the game. It is what it is. I mean, it's not exactly like I sat back and rethought my casting career. Alright, these robotic work units are perfect for menial labor tasks. They are hardworking and capable of following simple vocal instructions, but they should not be expected to climb stairs. Now, I've been putting off destroyers for a while, and I am kind of... 39 months? Yeah, I'm gonna go for the destroyers. I want more shooty. Okay, on Aether, we're basically just going to carry on through our existing systems and build as many mining stations as I can. Sinopel is a jewel that I want. And here, I'm not going to build anything on Tissalum 3, and the reason for that is I intend to colonize it before too long. And I spent a little bit too much money because I don't have enough to be able to...
Construction complete.
Oh yeah, I didn't see... so orbital research mandate, as long as I build 2 more research stations, I'm good to go. Okay, so I need to sit on my hands a little bit because I spent too much.
Complete.
It turns out I do not have an infinite amount of money in this game. So notice here we were talking before, so this is a skill 3 scientist on a skill 5 anomaly, so I know they're not going to fail, but they are going to take longer. You always saw the commentary as my style that I enjoy. I know not everybody has to enjoy it as well, but nobody's making anybody watch. Yeah, I mean, that's obvious and apparently bears repeating. It seems almost boring to point out. Like, they're equal fleet power now. That's discouraging. I think I'm gonna need to build a bigger fleet before I start trying to fight these guys. That's a shame. That's a missed opportunity for me sitting down. But yeah, like I'm not really under any illusions in terms of my talents as a caster. Like, I'm as nice as some people are in terms of just like talking about the cast and such.
Have been upgraded.
And I'm not gonna try and say that that they're wrong. People have been really nice in terms of the okay, they are inferior, so that was just that was a power thing. Ooh, and this is an Arctic world. Okay, so I am actually gonna get a little greedy in terms of what I take from them. But yeah, like I really appreciate the feedback that says, I'm good at something. And I don't think like I'm a bad caster. But I think I don't really have a claim to a larger audience than I already have. Like, I think there are streamers who just simply do a better job of being entertaining and keeping, they keep the gameplay going. And just generally they're better to watch. And so my view on that has always been that, if you like my stuff, I'm happy to keep doing it as long as I get something out of it, as long as I find it worthwhile, and as long as I, don't give up too much in my day-to-day life. It seems to make sense to keep casting. And, you know, again, if you don't like seeing the VOD, you know, the blame the Google algorithm. I guess the biggest thing is I've never quite understood the idea that you need to register the complaint with the creator. Like, I can deal with the feedback that says stuff like this, like you're pausing the game too much to talk about things that are not Stellaris. And like that's just, I mean, that's become part of the cast. Like that's one of these things which is a little hard to get out of, because it just happens to be the way that, you know, that my style works. But like the just you're bad kind of feedback, there's not a whole lot to do with it, so I just make fun of them. The ancient frozen remains of almost 1,000 aliens have been found in the vicinity of Eliathon 5A. They come from over a dozen different species, and preliminary dating puts the corpses at roughly 600,000 years old, around the same time as the Cyberix machine consciousness ravaged this part of the galaxy.
Situation log updated.
Alright, so we got another research project to work on. And I'm going to reconsider the orders that I gave this guy, so... I don't think there's any way that I can connect to these two areas here, but we'll see. Alright, I definitely need to work on my food situation. I think I will accept that sometime. Well, no. I'm not going to give up the minerals quite yet.
Anomaly found.
Unusual readings suggest that there may be more to this desolate world than meets the eye. Nope. Idle construction ships make me cry. Okay, don't have enough to build quite what I want, but we'll fix that. So this is going to be the part where I try and gobble up a bit of this empire. Sastrum is actually a really tempting target to go for. And the main reason for that is it seems to be the main connection to these guys. I don't want to form a defensive pact with them because that'll upset. You would not want to drag your empire into a conflict, but it is clear that we would benefit from joining together against possible threats. So the reason I'm not going to do this would be that this guy wants... Oh, hang on. I am going to decline this just because it's going to cost me influence, but it turns out they're okay with defensive pacts. So I'll reconsider this when the stars are right. Okay, so we've all built up in Tislam, so we're going to take Bashpot, which has sort of a soft barrier in the form. I mean, 780 power is not exactly something that's going to cause any self-respecting empire at this stage to hold off, but it does keep some of my ships from going through. So as for the rest of this, well, this is building the way I want it to. We'll clear up some of these food resources. We do have we can draw down on our resources for a while, and you know, in the meantime, I'm just going to make sure that I have people sort of working on tiles that make the most sense. Yeah. So, for instance, I can switch these around. No reason to build here. No reason to build here, because if we can get more food later, we can. You guys not off the world yet? At least they're not rebelling anymore. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, why isn't anything happening?
Tile blocker cleared.
I always want to keep something of a reserve just in case I need like a replacement admiral or something like that.
Special product complete.
The dead aliens we found above Eliathon 5A all died from vacuum exposure, and each individual had a barcode the Cyberx were known to laser onto the skin of organic captives. It seems like the Cybricks executed these aliens by spacing them, perhaps after having finished interrogations, or to keep them from escaping during some kind of rescue operation. We may never know the truth. Primordial soup nestled in the sheltered pockets across Fue 2's surface is a rich sledge of simple organic compounds that our researchers believe could be a hotbed of abiogenesis, the spontaneous formation of organic life from lifeless matter, made possible by Fue 2's unusually thick atmosphere. Although the planet presents a unique opportunity to study what could be the early stages of the origin of life, it would be best to set our expectations low, as it may be still millions of years before life evolves naturally on Fue 2, if at all. And should we decide to colonize this planet, which is a bit far away from us, and it does look like the Lyrite Assembly of Planets has got their eyes on colonizing it as well, it will be social research +3. Alright, in the meantime, I can't build an off-world trading company yet, but I can build a trading hub and an anchorage. That means that this construction ship's going to be idle for... Oh no, it won't be idle for a bit because I gave it a huge queue to work on. And looks like we're in fairly decent shape to start a war, so let's just... Alright, so they are equivalent power, which worries me a little bit. I'm gonna risk it. So this may prove to be a pretty costly mistake. And one of the things that I'm gonna do in the background when I can afford it, I'm actually gonna build up some reserve ships. Oop.
We have declared war on the reprehensible Xenos.
Oh, thank you, Isaacson.
Tile blocker cleared.
Through our surveys of habitable worlds, our biologists have collected a vast amount of data on alien life forms. Many of our older theories about the development of life have been disproved, and our scientific community has to build new models from scratch. Our most interesting findings are being displayed in the newly dedicated Museum of Exobiology on Veilgar. The public is enthralled, and many donations have come in to aid the continued research of the strange life forms. So that's given us 500 social research as well as 500 energy credits. And on top of that, I'm going to start building a reserve force of corvettes. Normally when Eyes of Sin says she enjoys the commentary, this is a combined with wonderful poetry as to the exact nature of my voice, but I won't demand a performance. Sometimes
We have claimed a new world for our people. System survey complete.
Good news here. A large amount of ship debris can be found in orbit around the planet, the remnants of some kind of massive fleet action. So we'll research that. Fue 3A, strategic resource discovered. During the research of Fue 3A, the ISS Felgris discovered a previously unknown strategic resource dubbed Zro. It is an extremely rare aerosol of exotic particles that appears to have been deposited here through a meteor impact, but its true origin is a mystery. If ingested by psionically gifted individuals, this aerosol should act as a very potent and potentially addictive drug that enhances psi abilities. While we do not yet possess the means to extract this resource, we should seriously consider establishing control over this system for future exploitation.
Xeno station engaged.
Oh, well then. I should be paying closer attention.
Construction complete.
Alright, so what I want to be doing here is I want to be building corvettes faster than they can get their main fleet to defend their territory. The good news is that I have something that can...
survey complete.
I have basically I have a system that's close enough in terms of these reserves
Construction complete.
to get the job done. Just need to wait to the end of the month. What do you mean I can't do another one? Oh, whoops. So what I'm trying to do here is get sort of the low-hanging fruit in terms of the these war objectives. I don't actually want to engage their main fleet, so it looks like they're 900 something. It's a reasonably fair fight, which I don't actually want to deal with yet. While scanning the asteroid belt, our science team found some sort of irregularity, so we'll research that. There's clear evidence that a massive space battle took place in close orbit of Aldua 2 at some point in the last 5,000 years. The surface on one side of the planet is pockmarked with craters from the stray weapon blasts, and scans from the ISS and Gavinonis have picked up several hulks on the ground. Though these wrecked ships are all in very poor condition, the fact that anything remains at all after the damage that they must have sustained is a testament to their advanced design. Science Officer Gak, daughter of Muri, is preparing an expedition to sift through these derelict hulls for any valuable technologies. Sorry guys, just need to... it's just one thing I wanted to... Oh no, what am I doing? I just have something going on in the other window, so...
Situation log updated.
Okay. Heritage sites. Physical reminders of how far we have come both instill a reverence for past achievements and bolster ambitions for the future. So the big question here is whether or not mountains are going to be a problem. Well, let's do the energy siphon regardless because it's relatively inexpensive and we've been sitting on that for a while. We're still short on food, which I'm not crazy about. Alright, I was dumb and I built one of these things on Viridian, so we're gonna have to set them in orbit fairly close. We'll build another one of these. I've got 5 more to go. And I don't have any minerals to do anything else with, but I do have a large surplus of energy, so let's just take a quick second here and go through my planets again and look for obvious ways to increase my food output. Well, that's a pretty obvious one right there. And that one. I'm mildly tempted to actually just clear it all out. 500 is a good reserve to hold, because it costs 200 to bring one of my normal guys back. So far, I do have a little damage on one Corvette, but overall the fleet's looking pretty good. So as long as they don't take too much damage, I'm gonna be happy. Okay, so it looks like they're gonna want to force a fight here. The great news, though... Okay, so it looks like they're splitting up their fleet. They've got 381 fleet power that's just hanging out there. So what I'm gonna do instead, I'm gonna have a welcome party for these guys. Oh, looks like they are not as dumb as they look. But that's only a 95 strength, so I'm in good shape.
Tile blocker cleared.
So basically what I want to do here is I want to be right where they land so I can ambush them. I'm doing this wrong.
Hostile Xeno fleet engaged. We have mastered a new technology.
Right.
Anomaly found.
A vessel of some kind has crashed into the surface of this asteroid. Wreckage from the craft can still be found within the impact crater. Alright, so I didn't lose a ship on that, but we definitely took some fairly serious damage, so... But we still have 800 strength with the undamaged ones, so we will continue on. Oh, nope, that's the wrong... Those are the wrong numbers. we're going to hold off, and I will reinforce with these 4 for now. I'm actually going to hold off kind of close to the edge. I want to see what these guys wind up doing. Okay. Physics research seems fairly obvious. We're already researching that 2 anomalies. And the thing I like about this, so we didn't lose any of our ships, which is fairly important. Notice the difference in terms of war exhaustion here. We've got 9 because of attrition. They've got 20, and it's not just because of attrition, but the space battle boosted that. And a large factor of this was the fact that I sort of buzzsawed down half of that fleet. Now again, it's not going to be a cakewalk because they still have, for this particular area, they actually have more fleet strength than I can deal with. But what I'm going to slowly do is I'm just going to start filing in these. Additional corvettes, so that we can get to a point where we're able to, we're sort of able to do our resume our invasions. Alright, that concerns me a little bit. I've just lost my eyes, but after identifying an anomaly in the gravity well of 2195-2079, the ISS Gavinonis has discovered the shattered wreckage of an ancient ore superfreighter buried deep within the asteroid's crust. It must have carried a full load when it crashed, and the asteroid's mineral wealth has been revised accordingly. Excellent. And where is that? Probably nowhere we can actually take advantage of it.
Construction complete.
So again, I want to be careful. If something shows up here, I need to F off. And I've kind of put my infrastructure on hold, but we are making some fairly decent numbers at this point. So in this case, I'm just boosting up my navies. I'll have more or less a
system survey complete.
A full second fleet by the time this is done.
Anomaly found.
A small docking hatch leading to the interior of this asteroid is visible from the rim of a small crater on its surface. The hatch was likely concealed once, but it has since been exposed by micrometeorite impacts. Okay. So again, we'll just send as many of these things to the system as we can. Once we're strong enough to take Trappist, we will. But I'm not in any rush to accomplish that. And we're back to basically fleet powers that are that give me an advantage. But it's important to remember I can't just rely on that, because 800 of that fleet power is currently on its way back for repairs. At a pretty generous definition of repair, like so much of this stuff could have gone into battle, but I don't want to lose the experience if I can. So, among the asteroids surrounding E49-328, we have discovered an alien ship adrift. It is not responding to our attempts to hail them. If this is due to it being unable to interpret our signal, or some other reason we do not know. Science Officer Siga, son of Bach, recommends that we get a construction ship and tow it out of the debris field. If left untouched, it risks being crushed by the asteroids. Alright, so let's see what we've got here. I do have an unused ship, so we'll say intriguing.
Log updated.
I actually have a construction ship in the area to be able to accomplish that.
Construction complete.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure that... Holy crap! Look at that! Look at that! Oh my god! We're all gonna die! So remember how I said that there were gonna be new Leviathans in in Distant Stars? You're looking at one of them. This asteroid appears to have been used intermittently as a base by a band of alien pirates roughly 1,000 years ago. A small boarding party entered the base and managed to recover their abandoned treasure hoard. It consisted largely of stolen trinkets and artifacts, but some of it appears to still have value, so that's another 500 energy. And
Our
I'm
ships
actually
have been upgraded.
going to take a minute on that. So again, we're going to continue our little convoy to deal with that. Because I've got a fairly decent energy surplus, I actually want to do a review of my existing worlds. And where I can, I want to get rid of these obstructions. Right, so there's one more, and then I don't have to worry about that planet anymore, so we'll also unlock the physics research. Alright, so again, I don't like wasting energy, but that's a fairly decent buy because it's basically energy resources that are not going to be consumed later. I don't have anybody who I particularly want to I don't have anybody I want to buy with those energy resources right now, so I'm not going to be too upset with using them. I am a bit worried about my food situation, but that should be dealt with. Let's think a bit. I think I'm going to have to build a farm here. Well, I can sort of start offsetting it with my existing resources. So, what else do I have? Yeah, we can build a farm here as well. So I've not really been using the existing...
Tile blocker cleared.
I've not really been using my existing resources that well. I really should boost my social research. And this gentleman can also farm. And we'll build an autothon monument because eventually I'll want one over there. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better about that. Scientist Tib, daughter of Enem, has died at age of 81. Alright, so I'm actually going to wind up spending a lot of energy on this, I have a feeling. So, I've got some commanders that I can upgrade. Might as well use the genius while I can. Because I don't think they have that much longer to live either. And for this, we'll go for young, and they're fairly good at researching anomalies. So looks like we've got another ship that we can send along.
System survey complete.
It's getting a little difficult to keep track of everything just because I still got some repairs done. Get you upgraded while we're at it.
Our ships have been upgraded.
And we only need one more Corvette, which is good news.
System survey complete. Special project complete.
Once the ship drifting in E49-328 has been towed out of the debris, we could send an away team to investigate. It is a murder scene. Only one crew member has been found, a long-eared amphibian biped who appears to have been stabbed repeatedly. The ship is, by the death of its crew, up for grabs. It is fitted with very efficient thrusters, the structure and design of which are beyond us at the present. The vessel is not armed, seemingly having been used as a transport for important personnel. Repurposing it into an exploration vessel would be a minor undertaking. However, if we instead deconstruct it and study the engines in greater detail, we could maybe capture some of its genius and translate it into practical improvements for our fleets. So the thing is that I've already got 3 science ships, and they do cost money to maintain, whereas I can get sublight speed, 10% bonus for everyone with this. So I think this is the better long-term choice. Now notice, by the way, I've been pretty idle on the combat, and the attrition has been ticking up pretty steadily because I haven't been getting in the action. But of course, that's going to be changing fairly soon. I'm going to be combining some of these fleets, first of all. And I'm going to be able to start sending some ships to Trappist, which is a fairly important step as well. So let me just... So we're at my fleet cap, which means I can start using my construction ships for slightly more meaningful things again. And as far as my armies are concerned... We're going to move them a little bit closer to the action. This is almost strong enough for me to just start running into Trappist anyway, but it probably wouldn't hurt to have something a little bit fuller strength. As long as I have 20 ships going in, I'll be happy. If I have something less than that, I won't make the move. All right.
Anomaly found.
So Heodis is not available to me as far as mining, so let's go to the crown jewel. A cursory scan of this planet's surface reveals a weak signal pulsing in the darkness of space. Now, Bashpat, I have lots of things I want to do to you. Let's start with that nice 9 minerals. And let's go back. I'm going to expand my borders. And this is, of course, a colonizable world for me, so I am in fairly good shape in that regard.
Construction complete.
All right, I might need to reorganize my fleets a little bit here, but I'm generally okay with how this is going. All right, so we've got prosperity. Let's take a minute to go through our options right now. So right now this is build speed, and the alternative is for a 5% boost to energy output, as well as an additional energy for each trading hub that I have. And of course, the trading hubs are basically on every single station that I have. The real question, though, so as nice as it is to have the energy, this is one of those rare playthroughs where I don't actually have energy problems. So the question is, what do I get for my second option? Well, energy grid gives 2 unity. That's fairly nice. What's the next one? Well, building upkeep and ship upkeep. So these are nice to have, but these percentage bonuses are definitely going to be felt later on as I have bigger and bigger fleets. So in this case, I think it makes sense to go down this column first and then move down the rest of the prosperity track. So this was less about the fact that I really like this bonus so much as it gives me access to another thing down the road that I prefer. And with that in mind, let me just think a bit about how I'm going to restructure my... Well, I think I'm actually going to sit on this for now. What I'll probably do is I'll dismantle the port at Kemjun and instead upgrade Trappist. Yeah, we'll think about it. And yeah. So I just need 5 more ships. But as it happens, I think everybody's going to arrive at the same time, so. Which I'm not too upset by, because we'll just be able to steamroll over these guys. I'm sure they'll have stronger ships. But hello, Sky Warrior 980.
We have mastered a new technology.
While larger than corvettes, destroyer hull configurations still make for comparatively nimble gunboats. Okay, so let's think about what I want to do here.
Anomaly found.
Probably the cheap one for the mining. Sensors pick up rhythmic movement on the... Ah, that's so much. The signal originates from the remains of an antenna-like structure. Exploratory probes were dispatched from the ISS Anne Felgris to the surface to investigate the matter more closely. What Science Officer Abel, son of Thub, found was a cavernous vault that, while easily pried open, was evidently the last safe house and refuge of some long-dead race of aliens. While reasonably technologically advanced, it seems that they never reached for the stars and perished to some planet-wide natural disaster. The vault is immense, housing thousands upon thousands of black boxes that the ISS Anne Felgris has determined to be the data storage devices. A special project has been prepared to decode the contents. Rambler146, thank you very much for that host. For those of you who don't know Alex the Rambler, he is one of the people participating in the YouTube. So he's actually been in 2 seasons of the YouTuber Stellaris Streamer War. Now, I will admit, I have not had the pleasure of watching those streams. The really bad thing about me is, as much as I like Stellaris, and as much as I love sharing these games with people, I don't really participate in sort of the I don't really participate in the part of the hobby which is, oh Jesus, that's gonna be bad for this guy. I don't really like participate that much in like watching the prepared stuff. I usually just do my own thing, but I don't really watch other people's. And there's no major reason for that. It's not that I don't like other people's stuff. It's just, you know, I don't know, I don't have enough time.
Construction
okay, I think I'll
complete.
survive.
System survey complete.
That doesn't look like that's attacking a starbase. Okay, I know what we're gonna do. We are going to promote Derek, daughter of Killed, who is a trickster. Oh, we have the maximum amount of leaders. Awkward. What am I gonna do? Oh, I apologize. I should have said something better about Alex. Anyways, he does quite a bit of in terms of paradox material. He does quite a bit in terms of Hearts of Iron, especially. And he's somebody who, if I get a chance, I would love to play some Stellaris with. But the big thing is that Alex the Rambler is one of these people who's good enough to do this for a living. So it's all well and good for me to talk about how nice it would be to do a stream with him, but that's basically, it's very easy to see that as saying, it's like, well, you know, yeah, of course I'd love to have a famous person come on. You know, that's like me saying I'd like to have Drake.
Construction complete.
You know, do Stellaris with me. Like, there are maybe some reasons why that won't necessarily happen. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're taking a 917 fleet. I'm putting the Admiral that I can. Regrettably, I have not managed my fleet cap that well. Oh, but we've got a leftover governor. A meek daughter of Bick. I'm sorry. This is not like a sexist thing. But I really need a new admiral. Hello, Jesse Quill. Long time no see. How are you doing? How was your Memorial Day? Thank you for the host. All right, so basically what I wanted to do here was, so they're going to engage with my 917 fleet, and once I get my paws on them. Oh, there we go. So now I've got 2 admirals ready to engage. So they're not full strength fleets, but I've got a lot of them. So. Oh, and in the meantime, I did have engineering I was supposed to handle. I think in this case we're going to go for the ceramo metal armor just because it's less expensive, and because it's been a while since I've done this. We're going to watch this in slow motion because there are pretty colors.
We have mastered a new technology.
Sorry. As much as I love Andreas Waldetoft, I'm going to do something special for Jesse Quill. Actually, it should be a little more like this.
System survey complete.
Alright, well, up. Battle's over. We didn't lose any ships, that was the important thing. Now, they didn't lose too much themselves. But what I get to do now is we can transfer out the damaged ships. So this has 10 strength. We'll transfer out one ship here. Oh, actually, okay. I'm messing this up a little bit. Alright, so this is 20 strength now. I think I might actually just be able to... Oh, not quite. So we'll take like the 3 worst damaged ships. 1, 2... 3. So of course the drawback is that I actually fired a governor so that I could get another admiral, and in this case I'm sacking the admiral. But there you have it. Okay. So there's a potential invasion force, but I'm not too worried about them. Now we're going to go to Trappist. And I should have a transport fleet on the way. And just before I oh, sorry, I also need to deal with my sorry, I also need to figure out what I'm doing with my science. Okay. I think I'm just gonna go with my old. I'm gonna go with my old habit of improved deflectors. Okay, now I'm sitting on a lot of mineral resources that are not currently being used. So Sanopel is gonna be my sort of. Oh, Bashpot also has a lot of stuff. Okay, well, I'll gobble up the size 4s because those are pretty important. This construction ship. So actually, let's get colonizing right away. And where's the closest? Bera. So there's energy there. Also, another thing that I haven't been doing, which will help my productivity, is... Well, I mean, it's not great. Basically, I'm building the pop here so that I can switch it out for farmers later. And I'm gonna build... Basically, I'm gonna build a robot, one on each planet, because I've got an energy surplus. Nope, not enough minerals. Okay, I think we're back on track. So these guys I'm gonna send to heal, and the 5th star order... We will lower our costs with the higher logistics. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to reconstruct a couple of these fleets to make sure that I've got destroyers in them. But at the moment, I'm just going to focus on winning this war, because the drawback is I have let the attrition run by. It's meant that I'm not suffering losses, which is generally good, but it has its own cost in terms of the time that it takes me to deliver on the war goal. And if I don't actually get results, then I'm not going to have the support of my people to continue. Even if we're kicking the asses of the alien scum, we just don't want to be in contact with them that long. Alright, we're receiving transmission from the Independent Space Station of the Curator Order. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Greetings, star travelers. We are the Curators. Our ancient order was established eons ago by the various galactic powers in ascendancy at the time. We are dedicated towards the preservation of all knowledge, in an effort to safeguard the galaxy from descending into another dark age of mass extinctions and barbarism. We failed. A few of us remain today, but we are no less committed to our sacred mission than our predecessors were. We are willing to share some of our knowledge with you for a price. Well met. Really? Is that how we greet aliens now? Okay, this is my invasion force, which I'll be reasonably happy with. Look at that angry cat. That's like a space Lydia right there. Oop, and apparently I have not done my social research. So I can boost my starbase capacity, which is tempting. I don't really need my command limit to go up, but let's take a look and see what these... Oh, we definitely need to hold off there. I just want to see what that tile blocker is going to gain me. One empty tile. Alright, that is not the colonizable world. Basically, it gets me nothing. So we will go for the starbase capacity. All right.
System survey complete.
Stop! Oh wait, do I want to bomb the hell out of these guys? No, we're okay. The angry Lydia is going to invade the planet. A colossal impact crater hints that something big collided with the surface of this planet once. Nope. Oh! What were my objectives again? I'm pretty sure this was one. I don't think I can do any more claims, can I? Yeah, so because I'm in an offensive war, it's going to cost me 2 times as much. I am curious, though. Let's see what would... Yeah, 3 systems are going to take me out. I probably should have been a little greedier in my demands, but I would be tempted to take Sastrum. That's going to cost me 168, and if I want their capital, that's half my influence to do that. But man, what a scalp if I can get their capital. I will take Sastrum just because that's going to block... No, actually, let's just live with the objectives that I had originally. Alright, so basically I need to occupy one more system and I need to properly invade, and then we'll be good. Also going to take a minute here and just get some upgrades out of the way. I know there's other things that I can do with my construction ships, but it's not a bad opportunity to...
Special project complete.
The vault is a tomb for hopeful immortals. Science officer Abel, son of Thub, asserts that the huge blocks of Tenery code found in the databanks are neural images, digitized brain scans. Doubtlessly, the aliens of Nashira 3A considered this to be their only shot at any kind of survival following whatever calamity befell their planet. They did not have the means to resurrect themselves, but banked on the impossibly small hope that eventually someone else would have the means. So we can say, let dead aliens lie in exchange for 500 engineering, or we do not, but download their neural patterns for safekeeping. In this case, I will download it. It's a lower engineering, and I'm not clear if I want to resurrect them or not, but I want to preserve the option. And here, I didn't quite have enough to build a pop, so we'll do that now. Okay, so we have another space battle that's about to start. During its survey of Zipir 1, the ISS Gavinonis discovered large deposits of various rare terraforming gases. With a steady supply of these gases, the process of terraforming planets would become less costly. While we do not yet possess the means to extract this resource, we should seriously consider establishing control over the system for future exploitation. Now, before we deal with my immediate concerns, let's build some mining stations. Not the most efficient use of that fleet, but it lets me get to the important stuff. Oh, you guys better be joining this fight. Yep, it's gonna be a good one. We'll actually even slow it down a bit.
Invading Xeno lair. Construction complete.
Alright, so we lost one Corvette to that. That's a shame. But these things happen. We should be getting... Still won't surrender, huh? Why is that? Demanding unoccupied planets. So I think once we deal with that, we should be in good shape. I can go and try and take other territories from them, but I don't think that'll be necessary, and I'm going to take this Corvette to...
Xeno lair secured.
Okay. And now we can basically impose our will. So the way, obviously there were some big changes in terms of the way that battles worked in Apocalypse. And obviously now with Distant Stars, we've inherited all of those systems. Now it turns out that settling status quo works a little bit different now. Not, in fact, to a point where I don't feel as comfortable sort of saying exactly how it works, because I think it's conditional on a few different... sort of a few different like it I think it depends the type of war that you're in terms of what happens with status quo. Wars waged to seize claimed enemy systems using this war glow to take claims generates 25% less threat for each conquered system. Oh, I get it. Yeah, okay. Anyways, so basically you want to get... War exhaustion's going to go into this calculation. So their natural resistance to surrender is 100. The reason why we're able to enforce this is that their war exhaustion is cranked up to 64. Now, the largest component of that is actually just from attrition, from how long this thing has been running. But we have been kicking their ass across the galaxy, and we occupy their systems. So 27% of this number goes towards space battles, and 19% goes towards the occupation of their planets. And so the fact that I have a really large navy and the fact that they are so exhausted from the war on its own was enough to push this over the edge. But as it happens, the value of the occupation is also something that's that pushes this over. So we achieve our war goals, send the offer, and we get some shiny new planets to our empire. Our assumptions about Valon weaknesses may have been hasty. As a token of our new experience, we accept your demands. This is the best possible outcome. Now, the main purpose of this was accomplished, which was to deny them their special resource. This has a nice side benefit of cutting their empire in half, although they'll be able to recover that by building this link. We do have Trappists now. The nice thing is that they do have a, sort of a, like they live on Arctic planets, so I'm able to enslave them and get them to work on my systems. But I don't think I have. Okay, so I gotta take a look at a couple of my factions. Oh, actually, I don't need to. Right. So in this case, I'm going to build my first sector, and it's not because I think Trappist really needs this, but I'm doing it because it will allow me to keep this faction happy. And obviously I intend to gobble up the remaining systems, so... so let's see how that sector's doing. We won't tax them. I don't think I didn't sign a leader anymore because I hired that second admiral. As much as I hate to do this, I actually think I'm gonna sack the one, yeah. That's rather expensive energy-wise, but we'll go for a young, eager recruit. Our ability to generate resources is slightly more important right now, so... I don't feel good about giving up that system, but it will allow Trappists to get on... Oof. That's ugly. Okay. See, they're slaves, so they're not going to be efficient at energy generation. I will build some robots to try and... Well, okay, let me... Species-wise... So yeah. Slaves, basic subsistence, limited, forbidden... Yeah, so all of this I'm okay with. I just want to make sure that I'm able to force people to move between territories without suffering any other consequences. Free movement. Yep, so they're not gonna like me forcing people to move. Well, you know what? I gotta have something working those energy resources for now. we'll endow them with something just to get them started, but this is going to be a little tricky. And I'll just put the transport fleet down here. Okay. As for the rest of these guys, we'll combine these. These guys should already be healing. These guys should be upgrading. And hopefully my factions are happy. I don't get it. Preserving our empire's core worlds for the exclusive use of Valians and their slaves will please the Valan. Oh, okay, so I can actually... Yeah, so I thought I satisfied that. Anyways, a massive crater on Preah 5 appears to be the result of a collision with a starship. From the size of the crater, we suspect that a ship exiting a hyperlane at maximum velocity rammed this planet for reasons unknown roughly 10,000 years ago. The ISS Ka Aranis has picked up residual subspace echoes near the crash site reminiscent of a collapsed hyperparticulate field, but the ship itself disintegrated on impact. The theory cannot be verified. Okay, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to build as much as I can. In this case, I'm going to start building some research stations because I've been falling behind on those. And I do also want to build energy when I can.
System survey complete. Construction complete.
Debating here about spiking a few of these corvettes in favor of building some destroyers into the fleet. I think I have access to those now. Yes, I do. But that's going to take up some mineral resources, and I don't have any immediate wars that I need to worry about. So I'm going to keep an eye on these guys. So basically, with my peace offers, I'm going to make sure that I have enough set aside for some other claims, just so I can kind of continue gobbling these guys up. By chance, we stumbled on a faint alien signal during a survey of this planet. The source appears to be a small object in orbit. The signal contains no message. Could it be a distress transponder? But yeah, I mean, these guys are going to be a nice source of slaves for me. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get away with most of this. Now, if you'll excuse me, I actually need to run for a quick second. I will be back as soon as I can. I actually mostly just need to go to the bathroom. But there's one other thing I've been meaning to do anyway, so I'm going to get that done. It'll be slightly longer just because I have a second thing to do, which I need to, like... I can do it after a cast because I'm already going to be up. But I don't know, 2 minutes. I'll be back as soon as I can. Okay, really sorry about that, guys. So I actually needed. So in addition to having to go to the bathroom, which less said the better, I had so I have some dinner that I still need to eat, a plant to water, and an email to send off. Which again, all could be done at the end of the day, but I thought, okay, well, I'll take the opportunity to get through that right now. So. Let's just take a minute here because I am paused, and I know I had more people watching a little bit earlier, but because we've kind of gone through a little bit of a transition, let's just stop and smell the roses for a little bit, because this is one of the things that I like, especially about Stellaris, is that as overwhelming as this game can seem at times, you can take a minute and just sort of slice each of the phases like a cake. So we started off, we wanted to grab as much territory as we could. And, I'm also going to manage my sector. You can basically, let's see. Yeah, you can colonize. I'm just not going to give them anything to colonize. So first thing we wanted to do is basically grab as many resources as we could. And we're doing okay. I mean, we've got 72 minerals a turn. Energy could be better, but I do have a colony ship out right now, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Overall, I have stalled a bit in terms of my expansion. So, I mean, in an ideal world, I'd have these as well. But I did sort of put it on hold so I could... I could design my big fleets and start taking some territory and such. And I've noticed my tendency, I've shifted a little bit in terms of my strategies. I pretty much always prioritize a maximum fleet because, again, it keeps the AI from getting any funny ideas. And if the AI happens to fall into a moment of weakness, that's a great opportunity for me to sort of strangle a potential opponent in the cradle. So, obviously took the opportunity when I could. So the question is now, well, what do I want to do? Well, I want to make sure that my 3 construction ships are always working. I do want to better organize my stations. So Ferrothon has an anchorage and a trading hub, but we don't have off-world trading companies right now. So I've got this sort of this idle area. And then there's a question here whether or not I need Kemjun to have a shipyard. Because there isn't, nothing's colonizing it right now. I honestly think I'll probably decide that once I finish colonizing these 2 planets. Because this forms a nice little core for my empire. And then this sector will obviously just take over everything in the Carillion Council, or at least as much of it as I can gobble up. Hopefully these guys don't get too opportunistic. So I think it's fairly clear, what I want to be focusing on for the next little while is just building up those resources that I've been spending so much time grabbing. And I'm going to need to make some decisions in terms of, I don't know, just in terms of stuff like buildings, and I should already be building a farm here. And just things like administrative buildings and whatnot. Did I replace? No. Okay. Gene Clinic would be great here, but oh, there we go. And I don't quite have enough, so we'll carry on. But yeah, so where I can, I think what I'm going to wind up doing for expansion, just so I don't go crazy like I did a little bit earlier, I'm going to make sure in each of the directions there's going to be some kind of construction ship that will move a unit out, and then it will build up. Then it'll move a unit out and build up, and so on and so forth. I'm really happy I explored this, by the way, because that's 17 energy. That's beautiful. And for some reason I didn't look at that anomaly, which upsets me quite a bit. Probably because I was doing other things, but still. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to explore this whole area here because it doesn't have any exits. We'll leave it there. Okay, so my civilian ships are doing what I want them to do. I could stand to have a little bit more activity going on here in terms of building up infrastructure. I'm tempted slightly to take one of these construction ships to build up one of these energy resources, but we'll wait on that for now. And then I guess the last, one last thing that I can do here is just disband. I can disband this group because I'm going to be phasing in some destroyers. I'm not going to do that quite yet, though. It is technically costing me some energy, but I have lots of energy in reserve, so... Alright, and then the last thing that I wanted to do was, I was very focused on one particular outcome. So the one thing I want to make sure about is that I've got a larger population who are members of the Electoral Freedom Watch. So in this case here, I want to make sure that they're happy, and then I can worry about the preservationist movement. So they generally just get pissed off about things rather than being happy. So the one dilemma that I have here is that it looks like free movement and core world exclusivity, I believe, are incompatible goals. So where were we? I'm not sure if I want to do forcible resettlement. Well, I'm probably going to take a hit to my influence for doing this, but I actually kind of want to... I want to reorganize a couple things. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for this, but it will actually put some slaves on the capital. Oh yeah, I really blew it there. I just lost everything for influence from them. Yeah, I didn't think that through at all. Alright, let's see if I can recover some of this, because I should be able to adjust my...
Construction complete.
Yeah, so I'm still lower than I should be, because I didn't think that through properly, but it means basically once I remove that one policy, I should be able to adjust the other at the same time. So not ideal, but it'll be like, it'll minimize the impact of that stupid decision that I made. Yeah, I think I have some debris, yeah. The mummified remains of a single individual belonging to a previously unknown mammalian species have been found drifting in high orbit over Isuus B2. The being is dressed in what appears to be a flight suit, complete with a helmet, and maybe a fighter pilot that ejected from some ancient battle only to be forgotten and left behind. Our study of the corpse has provided some interesting data. Alright, so I've been neglecting my special projects, unfortunately. So I'll get back on track with these. And I don't quite have enough resources to do what I was planning. But yeah, so like I said, the plan here is going to be to try and double down a bit on my... the plan is going to be to double down a bit on my existing position. I really don't have a good answer in terms of who's going to research that debris. Technically, this guy's closest.
We have mastered a new technology.
A combination of different metals and ceramics that result in strong armor without sacrificing flexibility. Alright, so we can research the ion thruster, or the flak battery, or fusion missiles. I think I'm just going to go for the cheapest technology like I normally do, and I'll worry about sort of the future options. In the meantime, I'm going to... Alright, we'll wait for the... I'm going to wait for this anomaly. I think I'm going to get him to research the debris and then head back here. And we will build up our infrastructure in the meantime.
Construction complete.
I'd like to build a robot pod. Basically, I want to make sure that I'm building robot pops on every planet that I can, just because they're a little bit better at extracting resources.
Construction complete.
Okay, idle construction ship. I can queue a bunch of this, but I also want to make sure that I'm building robots when I can as well. The measured pounding observed from the orbit is the motion of an immense and ancient geothermal extractor breathing their last. Built and then abandoned at some point in the distant past, the vast batteries of disintegrating machinery have been pumping up superheated fluids from the planet's core ever since. Their storage capacitors are all broken or leaking, but some energy can still be siphoned from them. Alright, big surplus of energy, which I don't have an immediate use for, but it's nice to know that we have it. One other thing I forgot to do about the species that we've enslaved is I don't know what they're good at. Well, they're conformists, and that's about all that they're good for.
Construction complete.
Okay. So like I said we were going to do, we will just move out to each sector we can after we're done exploiting. And I'm going to do a slightly different path than I intended, but...
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, can really kind of do anything in this system because I'm generally sitting pretty as far as all of these other upgrades are concerned. But
System
while I'm at it,
complete.
I'm gonna upgrade. Oh,
Construction complete.
I must have had a big upgrade. Yeah, that's fine. I think I'd prefer to. I think I'd
Our
prefer to
ships
upgrade
have
my
been
fleet
upgraded.
than. I'd prefer to upgrade my fleet than build a better capital. We have encountered some form of alien vessels in the Curus system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Curus until we can learn more about them. We will try to learn more about them right now. As far as the drone study, 27 months. What are we currently researching? 33 months? Yep, I can hold off
Special product complete.
on those missiles. Team Under Science Officer Gak, daughter of Muri, has finished their expedition on Aldera 2 and returned to the ISS Angavinonis. Thankfully, the starship graveyard on the surface proved to be a technological treasure trove. Studying the remains of those vessels has advanced our research in certain fields by several years, and there are things yet to discover. A permanent science outpost in orbit would be a great boon to our starship engineering efforts. Where was this again? Possible we'll be able to colonize there. I don't have a lot of other planets that I can grab at the moment,
Construction
so
complete.
After successfully translating their language, we've established communications with the independent space station of the Artisan Troop. A visitor! This is a joyous occasion indeed. Oh, forgive my manners. I believe introductions are in order. We are the Artisan Troop. Our members have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of art, music, culture, and all the other things that make existence bearable to a sapient being. Please, if you'd like to share in the wonder of our creations, do not hesitate to contact us. Alright, so we finished the robot arrangement. Unfortunately, I was a lot richer at the time that I started that, so I'm gonna have to switch things around a bit. Robot pops are nice because they require less food to maintain. So I can build 2. But the other ones, oh well, I've only had 2 become available, so I'm in good shape there.
Construction complete.
So obviously this is the first thing I want to build, the 12 energy. And one more in Bashpat. Now before too long I would like to colonize Tissalum. But I'm not in a rush just because I have other colonies that I'm developing at the moment, and I am a little shy on minerals. I'm starting to hit some gaps. Okay, so I can afford to do a resettle. Here I'm gonna... Actually, I don't want to put them on the capital world because I won't have opportunities to grow new ones, so... This should work. As per President Anak, son of Inuk's mandate, additional research stations have been constructed. Alright, let's... Okay, so it turns out that my goal of not building a construction ship paid off in terms of this sector. It looks like they're doing it on their own, and they're actually going to be able to run a small surplus once all is accounted for. Now, part of that was also the fact that I had I have somebody who can actually work this tile now.
Construction complete.
I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but I'll worry about it later. My construction ships are idle again. So this guy can't go any further at the moment, so instead we will expand out. I'm going to try and expand out.
Incoming transmission.
What I'm going to try and do here is make sure, as much as I'd love to get this territory right away, I'd like to expand out in a way that minimizes the creation of pirate fleets. So I'm going to take the slightly less desirable planet first, and then go to Karakam. In reality, it's not that big of a deal, and I mean, we only have a 10% piracy risk right now anyway, but it's just... I try to adopt little habits like that so that I don't unconsciously, do it at a time when I don't think it's as appropriate. Alright. Now... The Learite Assembly of Planets will give me 97 minerals in exchange for a research agreement. And it's 30-year. I'm not sure 97 minerals is quite enough to justify that. I don't mind being reasonably friendly with those guys, but I'm going to need a little bit more than like a mining station to give them 30 years of access to my data.
Our ships have been upgraded.
Oop. And I need to start building another robot man. I also actually need to start building some buildings for these things because these resources are a little idle.
We have mastered a new technology.
Okay, these updated deflector screens are capable of soaking up even more punishment before they overload. And as usual, I'm going for the inexpensive options first. I kind of need to make a decision. In this case, I will go for... We're split. I'm going to go energy for this one, and I'm going to sacrifice some of my mineral... Or sorry, some of my food. And that should be it for this planet. I don't see anything else that I can do to improve. The only other thing would be so they're slightly better at generating minerals, so I'll switch. I'll make sure that I switch these things into their best role. Otherwise, unless I want to do something new with slaves. The atmospheric patterns of Issus 1 are highly atypical for a gas giant of modest size. Okay, so Ferrothon, I can upgrade the administrative building.
Complete. Construction complete.
I think I'm going to have to accept that I'm going to inefficiently use some of my food resources. There is a slave building that I can build at some point, but I don't think that I'm going to have access to that at the time I need it.
We have claimed a new world for our people.
Alright, the drones and their tireless, endless work of extracting ever-diminishing resources from their local planetoids make for a somewhat dull but nevertheless informative subject of study. In fact, mining networks on Valgar could stand to learn a thing or two about maximizing mineral extraction rates while conserving energy. Additionally, we have found that the drones are not completely silent. They emit signal pings, though extremely infrequently and at a wavelength that is hard to isolate from background noise. If there's anyone left to receive these pings, may be a mystery for another time. So we can say easy prey. We'll gain a 33% increase in damage to the drones, or we can... in this case, we'll say fascinating automata, because a 5% bonus to mining is not nothing. All right.
Construction complete.
Again, working through the. I don't believe that's true. Deceptive giant. What we had assumed was a normally small gas giant is in fact not. Beneath a deceptive cover of thick dust swirling in the upper atmosphere lies a regular planet. A barren planet, but a planet nonetheless. This has proven quite embarrassing to the astronomical community on Valgar. Alright, so let's see why it doesn't want me to. Okay, well apparently I can build it here. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. I'm going to need to build a metal man. Here we go. And that's an idle construction ship, but I do kind of want these pops building as quickly as I can, because one of the reasons why I'm so focused on these robot pops at the moment. In fact, some of the things I can do, because I have this somewhat draconian migration policy, I can actually kick some of these things off the planet. Yeah, so like I can boot 2 of these guys off to maximize my minerals and just make sure the remaining colonies are kind of taken care of.
Construction complete.
I'll wait until I have kind of nothing else to do, but alright, as for this, I want to make sure that I'm upgrading the capitals that I can. Those are fairly expensive and sometimes annoying to deal with, so it's nice to just get those out of the way. There are signs of activity by an ancient precursor civilization in the vicinity of this gas giant. Now, this isn't my best guy to do that, but again, I'm sort of at a point where I've got lots of I have lots of expansion options available to me, and I'm not really taking them yet. So I'm kind of okay. I'm okay using these ships in. I'm okay using these ships the way that I've been so far, just because like, again, if I wanted to, I'm not going to run into a shortage of systems that I can colonize, and it might mean that I lose some of them to aliens. I'm not going to dispute that.
Tile blocker cleared.
But, you know, for the time being, I'm okay with how this is working out. All right, so governor's gained a trait. We have 6 years before we can go to war with these guys again, and I only have one other option for building this star base. I can also build a new star port, so that's going to be something I can aspire to. Oh, I also said, yeah, Barra Prime's got to build.
Construction complete.
Top.
Our ships have been upgraded.
I do also want to get a science ship to be taking care of this little area here, but again, there's other things that I can do at the moment, so. Okay, so this is going to free up I'm going to wait for these 2 robot pops to finish building, and then I'm going to see if I can shift around some.
Construction complete.
Okay. So first thing I want to do is see, I don't think there's going to be any more pops on Trappist that I can, oops, wrong one. I don't think there's going to be any more pops that I can send away. Yeah, we're pretty even in terms of distribution. So, next up. Actually, there's one thing I want to do first of all. Nope, it's gotta be. Alright, so we're gonna take our home world and basically just make sure that our guys are working those tiles. Obviously I'll be able to do that a second time, but I'm gonna shuffle it through progressively. And so I should be able to change that law again basically a year after the next war. So one of the reasons I want to focus a bit on my home world just to make sure that all of those upgrades are taken care of.
Construction complete.
That's good news. And then next thing I'm going to be doing is focusing on things like Unity producing
complete.
buildings and whatnot.
Sometimes
this will mean that these construction ships are idle, but again, I'm generating 100 minerals a turn, so it's not the end of the world if it doesn't always work as planned. Okay, Ikaris, son of Imat, has been elected as president of the Valon polity. Let's take a look at the mandate. Minor mandate, that's going to be... Oh no, we'll handle that in that system, so we know we'll get the influence for that. We're actually getting close to our influence cap, so one of the things that I can do... I'm going to take the easy and cheap stuff first. This is going to cost me 70. Yeah, we'll make those claims for now. That's probably going to annoy these guys if I wind up taking it, but whatever. I mean, we're space conquerors. Not really, actually, but sometimes Sometimes you gotta be a space
Construction
jerk if you're a xenophobe. Also, I had... Okay, so let's go to each of my colony worlds. And I think I'm short
We have
one...
mastered a new technology.
Alright, fusion missiles. These updated space-to-space missiles have more powerful fusion warheads and improved flight performance. So, let's go for basic strike craft here. I also have some extra space, so... We're gonna take a minute here and build ourselves... Nope, we will not build ourselves destroyers. Because we can't
System
afford
survey
them.
complete.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I like to focus a lot on my core worlds
Construction complete.
is that if I don't pay attention to them, I'm basically going to wake up and find they're really far behind in terms of technology. And that's been true of basically that's basically true of every playthrough that I've done of Stellaris. It's my lowest physics, surprisingly
Construction
enough.
complete.
I did have a mining mandate, so I do kind of want to focus on that. Alright, I gotta build a robot man next. And again, in this case, I'm even fine, like, holding off and, on, like, upgrading the tile, as long as I get the pops down. One of the things that allows me is basically, because I'm gonna have these pops, doing their thing, basically. I'm going to have these, the pops are building. I'm going to be saving a bit on my food expenditures, and I'm also going to be generating marginally more mineral resources. So if I can optimize it now, especially if I lock myself out of the forced relocation law again, that's just something that's going to allow me a few more efficiencies than what I would normally have access to. Let's see here. I think I'll worry about upgrades first. So again, we're pretty happy as far as resources are concerned. Obviously, it'd be nice if I can spend the 300 to drop a colony ship up here right now, but I can work on improving what I already have. It also gives me a slightly more realistic idea in terms of what my energy expenditures are, because obviously as I upgrade these buildings, I'm spending extra energy in order to achieve those gains as well. Okay, so I've got 5 colonies, but only 4 star bases, so let's start upgrading these. Ancient debris from some kind of massive Cybrex refinery complex has been found in orbit around the gas giant Canopus 1. Lingering energy traces suggest that it was destroyed by some kind of antimatter weapon.
Situation log updated.
By the way, I found out something very cool about the Cybrex that I'm keeping to myself. And I kind of hope I don't have an opportunity to show you guys, because it's really difficult. But one of the things I really like about Stellaris is that it's still giving me, it still has some surprises left in it after all this time, and I like that a lot. Okay. Like I said, we were going to continue down the pursuit of profit. The pursuit of profit has become a central tenet of our society. Those who are successful at any kind of enterprise are admired, deeply admired, and the accumulation of energy credits is seen as an extremely worthwhile goal. By the way, I don't need Jess here for this, but out of curiosity, Jess, are you present? If I start playing some Star Wars music,
We have mastered a new technology.
Improved reactor booster. The discovery of fusion power allows for... Oh, hi! I didn't shout you out earlier, but some of you will have seen that Jess... I just want to keep conscious of the viewer count when I do these shoutouts. You will notice that Jessie Quill hosted me a little bit earlier. Jess is obviously my only real mod. I mean, technically Nightbot is modded, and a friend of mine, A. Newcomb, which Jess actually gets to see some of my political discourse with, and I'm sure she wonders why I'm friends. But I did want to take a minute and give credit where credit is due. Jess has been helping out with the St. Jude charity and has talked about the good and the bad of that experience. Less of it has to do with St. Jude, and sometimes I think she shares a frustration that I have in terms of the motivations behind certain people and the way that they behave. I think I don't like being too snipey, but I also think this is general enough, and I think this is also sensible enough. I am not particularly fond of the sort of person who likes to turn fundraising into a competition in a way that other people will feel bad for not hitting a particular target, let's say. But needless to say, I have definitely felt quite good about what Jess has been doing with St. Jude. She has been helping not just her own stream, but has been helping out a couple of other ones in terms of I Am Brandon's. Sorry, I know him as I Am Brandon on Twitter, but I think his Twitch name is different. But she did a Scare-a-thon, and for those of you who know Jess, she, I think, watches my horror playthroughs because I am allowed to not be scared. Okay, he is I Am Brandon on Twitch. She watches my... Actually, so here's a question. If he ever needs a body for helping and you think... So I'm going to leave you to decide whether or not I'm a good fit for that. But for those of you who haven't had the experience of watching me do a horror game, Jess gave some nice feedback in terms of saying that she felt okay watching those horror streams because I was very stoic in my responses to them. And so it was very interesting. I never planned on doing them that way, but it turns out that the way that I do horror streams is unique and something that allows people who normally don't like that kind of content to be able to experience it. I don't know, like if it's helpful. I don't know, like the problem with that style is that it's more popular to have somebody losing their mind, right? So I don't know if that's really appropriate. Anyways, this is not supposed to be about me. Jess has given me that kind of feedback, and it is helpful. So for those of you who like things that are sort of a slight angle from what I normally do, but still, has that level of individual connection, and also somebody who does a lot of community service on Twitch, I can definitely suggest that you check out Young Jessie Quill. I don't know if that was a good shout out or not. As per President Ikir, son of Imat's mandate, additional mining stations have been constructed. Also, I wanted to take a look at my leaders. Alright, everybody is occupied, which is good. So, I'll go for the Sentinel Point defense, but I really want to build those sensors before too long.
Construction complete.
Okay, more mining stations. Alright, let's get some more robots built. Oh, I don't have any more exclusive mining tiles to build on here. Well, that's just as well because I don't have the money to build it. Damn it!
Anomaly found.
Colossal impact crater hints that something big collided with the surface of this planet once.
Construction complete.
I just want to see if there's any more aliens that we can pick up and deposit on another planet soon. Actually, I do have a big energy surplus.
We have mastered a new technology.
Yeah, right, I can't afford to clear it. Oh, but the governor can't, so let's deal with that real quick. Apparently they found a way to... run a deficit again. Probably the buildings. Oh, and I can finally build that. I can finally build that last colony ship. So I'm not crazy about all these. This will be a nice little bread basket. We can generate a total of 5 food without having to clear anything. The only thing is I don't like having the capital tucked away in a corner, but I also don't like wasting a tile if I can avoid it. Okay, so I can build more star bases than I'm currently using, so I need to focus a bit on that. Our future lies in the Sea of Stars. And I can clear mountains, or I can increase my leader capacity, and I have a feeling I'm going to need my leaders sooner than anything else. One last task, I want to upgrade that starport. Oh, but I don't have the money for it, so I'm going to say never mind, and we will upgrade. You know, you can never really have enough minerals.
Construction complete. Special product complete.
Okay, evidence has been found indicating that the Cybrex were mining helium-3 from Canopus 1 using their orbital complex to refine the gas before distributing it as fuel to their roving space fleets. Interestingly, the energy signature of the antimatter weapon that destroyed the facility is distinctly Cybrex in origin. Why would they destroy their own refinery? Interesting find, and oh. Good news, everyone! Cybrex home system located. After intense study of recovered Cybrex artifacts, scientists on Velgar have managed to deduce the exact galactic coordinates of a system the ancient machines referred to as the Cybrex Prime, possibly where their civilization retreated after an abortive attempt to exterminate all sapient organic life. We should launch an expedition to this system before someone else beats it to us. Sorry. Someone else beats us to it. Contact the nearest science ship.
Updated.
Alright, so Cybrex Alpha. Ah, good news. Okay, so we're going to change the survey goal here. Now, this is obviously going to scare the crap out of this this ship. So we'll just take a quick peek and then run away.
Construction complete.
A large mineral-rich asteroid collided with Soao 5 at some point during the previous 1,000 years in what must have been a major impact event. The abundance of minerals can now be found in the planet in the vicinity of the impact crater. So I'm going to move out here. Alright. So I gotta be careful about that, but we should be fine.
Construction complete.
Again, I always want an eye on Trappist just so I can make sure that I can have enough enough of my cat people using these resources.
System survey complete. System survey complete.
And this is good news because I'll build first, and it looks like I've got an idle science ship. But yeah, so as long as I continue to build stuff, what I want to be doing here, looks like I forgot another anomaly. Bad of me. All right, so this is really going out there. I think I'm going to focus on this lower area first, just to see if I can combine these two. I do have a bit of a claim on a lot of this territory, but I still do need to actually seal the deal. So what I'll do after we research the anomaly, I'm gonna do one of these. And I have a feeling somewhere in here there should be a connection, probably on this planet, but we'll see how that goes. The good news about the Cybrex planet is that there's really no way that somebody else is going to take this from me. I kind of have access to all of this, but I moved this science ship into this area here so we can actually see exactly what the Leviathan is and we can get the flavor text off of it. Alright, I'm still okay energy-wise, so let's keep mining. I either want to do research or I want to do mining.
Construction complete.
We're already upgrading that star base.
Construction complete.
I feel like I should do this upgrade as well. So that'll hopefully help them with their energy when I build I can't speak tonight, a trading hub on it. There is actually a really good argument for building a spaceport there as well, and that'll give me a reason to dismantle the one on in this system.
Construction complete.
Okay, so question is where I want... I guess I can only really... Okay, so I can either use this guy to expand northward, or I'm going to dedicate them to this area. I think for now, I'm going to move them up here.
Construction complete.
I should eventually just wipe out this space amoeba and such with my ships, but we'll hold off on that for now. Science Officer Gak, daughter of Muri, reports that the luminous waves coursing through the ice blankets of Giselian 5 is of alien origin. Some ancient battle has deposited scattered wreckage of an alien fighter on the frozen planet, and only the exposed core of its main weapons remain intact. It seems that this alien race used lasers fairly similar to the ones currently in use by the Valen fleets, and the fizzling innards periodically discharge low-powered lasers into the ice of Giselian 5. The planet's harsh climate prevent the lasers from actually melting the ice, allowing the chilly matrix to act as a brilliant prism. So this only gives me the experience. If I had gotten it before I researched that technology, I would actually get blue lasers. But that's a fairly early on one to get. So.
Construction complete.
All right. Do I have any case for building? Yes, I do have a case for building a robot.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
So much construction complete. I don't really have a case for another robot man here, unless I want to. I couldn't technically.
Construction complete.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have them on a food tile. All right, and then I was gonna switch. I was gonna resettle this guy. That's got to be upsetting. Like you live in, you're living on paradise on the capital, and then it's like, nope. Oh, this guy's voluntarily migrating too. All right, fair enough.
We have mastered a new technology. System survey.
These manned strike craft are launched from a mothership and rely on their speed and small size to survive long enough to punch through enemy defenses. All right. So mining network 2, that's going to be a big series of upgrades that I do, but it will, I think it'll pay for itself. Right now I want to focus on getting those Unity improvements if I can. Super K 2001 makes an excellent point. I mean, there is a reason why we went across the Atlantic in order to seek out new civilizations, to go boldly where no other man has gone before, or racist cat person has gone. Welcome, by the way. I don't think I've said hi to you yet. All right. Governor Tag, Data of Ulba, has become more experienced, but with this experience has come an increasing stubbornness. The governor has become quite obdurate and is having difficulty accepting new ideas. I will eventually build some structures on here, but the important thing to remember is that some of the best uses of your resources are...
Construction
complete.
complete.
Looks like I have fallen behind, so I don't have anything more to gobble up here. So some of the best uses, I'll give you... I know I sound like a broken record on this. And actually the first step on this one, the mining platforms aren't as good. So... I'll do the lesson here. So let's take a look at what I get for each of these buildings. I can build a mining network here for 51, and I gain 2. Actually, yeah. So the reason why I was so focused on building the orbital mining platforms was because there were a lot of size 4 and a lot of, even like size 10 in some cases, ones. Now I'm spending 1 energy and 51 minerals for mining network, and I've already got the pops on them. So this is actually an optimal choice to build these here. I'm gonna go for the cheap little Unity. That's maybe not so optimal, but in these cases, it's better for me to make sure that I'm building mining networks on each planet that can. Before I build anything else. And here I'm going to build a monument because I didn't do that before. And apparently one of these has good minerals. This is very good minerals. So this will absolutely get a mining station on it. Again, I kind of want the food, but not at a point where I'm going to give up certain percent-based bonuses. All right, so now that so the idea here is that the resources that I'm using, it costs me less in terms of minerals, the exact same in terms of energy to get those. Now that all of those have been taken care of, now I can start focusing on my space platforms. Normally it's not like that. Normally I'm upgrading platforms, and in that case I'm spending over 90 minerals to basically gain like 1 point worth. But
construction complete.
Again, it sort of depends. It depends on the circumstances. I believe we have 2 years. We're 2 years away from being able to declare war on these guys. Well, 2.5 years. It was a summer war, so
construction complete.
Summer truce, rather. All right. Again, constructing where I can because I'd like to expand my borders fairly rapidly. Reason I'm sort of ignoring this planet is that we're all full up in terms of the technologies that I want, so the progress that we've made calls for a new, nimbler form of administration, and that may aid rather than hinder us in our pursuits. You still want to figure out the calculations for when to build processing plants? Oh, you mean like the ones that give you like those percent-based bonuses? Alright, I don't think dangerous wildlife is enough of a problem for me to justify... Well, the food's kind of tasty. I actually love this idea that you get rid of the dangerous wildlife and all of a sudden new food resources become available. That naval capacity will definitely help me out. I don't need to decommission those corvettes anymore, and instead I can build enough destroyers to balance it out. I think I'm going to go for that naval capacity. I can't remember what the percent-based bonus. So if it's a 10%, I mean, so it's a tough call, right? Because in one sense, you're spending 100. Well, actually, let's see if we can figure this out right now. I'm probably going to embarrass you all. Government economist, ladies and gentlemen, is now about to screw up some math on stream. Let's see if we can figure this out. So I'm going to assume that the refinery gives an equivalent. I don't think I have the technology for a refinery, but yeah. So let's say it's a 10%, 10% bonus. Where is my capital world? Actually, you know what? The wiki will tell me exactly what that does. So. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna put a couple of simplifying assumptions here because it depends on what level you have. Let's say everything's at level 1, and you're making a decision in terms of like your basic level. So this may not hold completely. Oh, sorry, I lost the wiki again. I just need to find the costs. Where are you, Mineral Plus? Come on. There we go. Okay. So it costs 150 minerals. 2 energy. 2 minerals. Plus 10%. Okay. And then normal mining network. 2 minerals. 1 energy. All right. Ponce! I'm about to do some dumb math. Thank you very much for that host. And there's 24 of you. Okay, guys, there's not going to be a lot of gameplay going on here just because I'm trying to solve a thing that I've always kind of done by... I've always done kind of by hand, but we're trying to figure out when's a good time to build a mineral processing plant and when isn't. So, let me just get a calculator up. You're doing that all day while falling asleep, so it's all good. What were you playing tonight, Ponce? I'm just going to do a little bit of rough math here to sort it out. But in the meantime, this good man can tell me what you were playing, and then I'll tell you why he's worth watching. Slay the Spire. Have you tried Nowhere Prophet yet, out of curiosity? I understand that they're quite similar. Ah, yes, I really enjoyed watching you play Wizard of Legend. No idea what that is? Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get, we'll talk later about that. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, the energy one is a little bit easier. I'm trying to quantify exactly how many minerals an energy is worth, and that's always dependent on your circumstances. Yeah, power plant. Well, I'm actually trying to work on the mineral case right now. The power plants actually tend to solve things for themselves. All right, so what are we doing here? Interesting. So this says that you should not be building that unless you're generating so like your raw amount of minerals that you're generating is 30. That doesn't seem right though. That seems like a really expensive. Well, at the level 1 though, that kind of makes sense. So yeah, like basically you get your base to, so like basically you're spending 150 minerals. So if you build, basically the idea here is that if you're building a mining network, you're spending about what is it? Yeah, you're spending like 60 minerals to get 2 minerals for 1 energy. So basically you're spending 30 minerals per mineral to get 30 minerals and half an energy to extract that 1 mineral. You have to include the base minerals of the process. Well, basically the total amount that you're generating on the planet, so that should already be included. Or no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it depends on the assumption whether or not you have a pop working that. I see what you're saying. So the total amount that your planet is working, including whatever's on it, because I'm assuming that what what you're going to be building on there is still going to be a mining resource or a pop anyway. But basically, the augmenting amount that mineral refinery needs to be working on, you have 150 minerals divided by the 2 that it generates plus 10% of whatever else is being generated. So to convert that into 30 minerals, basically you're dividing the 30 that you want, divide the 150 by the 30, so you get 5, and it works out to basically being 5 equals 2 plus 10% of whatever you have, subtract the 2, so you need at least 30, including the base amount that you're going to be building the refinery on, and the base amounts plus whatever augmented amounts that you have from your mining networks, which in general probably isn't very realistic at level 1 for everything, but I guess once you start upgrading to level 2s. Why am I counting the initial cost? The initial cost is so the initial cost of building it is to say how many minerals are you giving up to get 1 mineral per turn. So again, the idea here is when I build a mining network, this one costs me 51 because of the bonuses, but the base cost of a mining network is 60 minerals, and that will generate 2 minerals on top of whatever else it's on. So you get 2 minerals for a mining network, which translates to a cost of 30 minerals per one that you're extracting. Base cost of 30 in order to get 1. To normalize the mining, to normalize the refinery, I'm trying to do the same calculation and trying to say like what your break even is. So if you just build that, like let's say you only had 1 mineral resource on the planet, effectively what you're getting is you're spending 150 minerals to get that refinery to generate 2 minerals. So in this case, you're spending 90 minerals more to accomplish the same thing, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the rest of this is just finding out how many more extra minerals are you going to get to turn the cost per unit down. And in this case, it doesn't really matter what level mining resources or like technology you have, as long as the planet is generating 30 minerals total, then the refinery is as good as building a base mining network. And then of course, because technology goes up, you generally want to build it because you know that over time it's going to increase. So as long as a planet has 30 minerals, it's worth it building it. Otherwise, it's probably not. And again, that was super dodgy, but hopefully that made some level of sense. If not, maybe I'll revisit this at the beginning of last cast. Anyways, I want to take a quick second to shout out Ponce. I'll maybe slow the game down a little bit. Yeah, no worries, Super K. That probably didn't explain a lot. So if you're here next week, I will start the cast with my rationale, and I'm actually going to do it in each of the. I'll do it in like each of the cases. But basically working out the unit cost of a mineral. At least from what I saw on the wiki, you should have 30 minerals on a planet. Doesn't matter what technology you're using, although obviously if you've maxed out your technology and to get that 30, you're really doing no better. You might actually be spending a little bit more in energy, but again, I didn't want to make as big of a deal of it as I did. So Ponce, I don't know if it's proper to call him as a former League of Legends caster, because I kind of think he still jumps back on that horse when he can. But Ponce is a really nice caster, really great guy. I have enjoyed watching him play more than a few things. I think one of the things that I get the most out of watching Ponce's stuff is whether he is playing a MOBA or whether he's playing, just about anything. He does have one of the most relaxed atmospheres on a stream that I sort of know about. And I think one of the things that I admire quite a bit about him is like whether it starts. So I know I get a little bit of a reputation in terms of like how I handle games like Dark Souls on cast. And again, just generally not freaking out too much about it. I freak out when I get backseated, but that's a different matter. I think one of the things that's so interesting is having met Ponce in person, he really is like that. And it's kind of neat to encounter someone who, again, just doesn't really let that much faze him. And I think one of the things I like the most about it is that the way he describes it is always fun. Like he basically says it takes too much energy to get mad. So he's relaxed due to laziness more than anything. But I think that's a great way to go about it. I think one of the things I've enjoyed the most about Ponce's streams is that now that he has sort of not maining League of Legends anymore, he's been able to do some things that meant a lot to him earlier on in his gaming career. So things like EverQuest. But he's also been able to play some nice little, lesser known titles like Fist of Legend. Sorry, is that right? Not Wizard of Legend. And again, he's just a really outstanding guy. He's somebody who has been able to sort of make a living doing this sort of thing, which I think is always a really respectable trait for somebody to have. Not necessarily the wisest trait, because I also happen to know that Ponce has a background in archaeology. He's definitely not the sort of person. I always have this really unkind thing that I say about streaming, which is that only losers become like professional casters. And what I mean by that is that it's a little bit like acting. You can say the same thing about acting, which is that generally if you have good prospects, it's not economically viable to stream. So like for me to justify streaming, I would need to be making an expected value equal to or greater what I get as an economist. And you don't get rich working for the government, but I'm okay. Like I can't complain about the salary, unless of course I compare it to like what I would be getting in the private sector. Then I'm like super sad. But there are other potential reasons for doing another kind of work. And this applies to anyone, right? So if you're a carpenter, you make decent money. If you're a plumber, you make decent money. If you're a lawyer, you make decent money. And it's not that you always see, like, it would be really hard. Imagine Michael Avenatti, like, turning into a Twitch streamer. You wouldn't expect that, even though he very likely has the charisma to do so. The reason you wouldn't see that is because he's making too much money as a lawyer. Or whatever you call that thing. Well, from what I understand, he's a fairly good lawyer, but it's kind of like almost a left-wing version of the president when you look at the way that people treat it. So this is one of the things that I find so interesting about Ponce is that having talked with Ponce, I mean, he's done little history stuff on his... On the other hand, you get to play video games for your job. Absolutely true. Although, of course, we all have smartphones. So as long as you have a job where you work in an office, I think most people can get away by playing a game in their office. But yeah, one of the things that's really nice about Ponce is that, and this is true of other casters as well, but I get to say, like, if you've watched his channel, you've heard him give a history of the barbecue. Ponce is very clearly a bright guy, and he is somebody who has he's remained intellectually curious, even after like he doesn't have to write an exam or anything like that anymore. And he doesn't brandish it in his channel. Like he doesn't run around telling everybody his IQ or something like that. But Ponce is definitely a very clever guy, and it's just really nice to sort of see. It's easy to run into people on Twitch where like it's just like it's like those people in high school who like really high school was their peak, and like they're never gonna do better than that, and they really cling on to that experience. Twitch can be like that a lot, and you'll see people like just kick old ladies down the stairs if it means that it'll get them a couple of extra concurrent viewers or something like that. Ponce is very not like that. Ponce is a really decent guy. He's really fun to hang out with. And one of my regrets about moving east is that I don't get, well, one, I don't get to hang out with him, but I don't get to see his stream as often too, just because the hours don't work out. It's 4:32. Your IQ. We've got a neo-Nazi running in my riding, I found out, who claims to have an IQ of 170, and of course he puts that on his campaign website. Yeah, well, that's a whole other, you know, that's a whole other deal. But yeah, the big point I really wanted to make here is that I always talk about the personalities behind streams because that's one of the best ways that I can sort of give a recommendation. In the end, the personality comes across in terms of the broadcast. And Ponce really is somebody who I have a lot of fun recommending to people just because he's a genuinely decent guy and he's someone who, you know, I'm happy to see succeed on Twitch. All right, we'll finally get my beloved sensors, and geothermal fracking. New fracking techniques will allow us to tap into previously unattainable pockets of geothermal resources deep beneath the planet's crust. And next up in the queue, I can either modify my robots, which would be kind of nice, I'll make them better at extracting mineral resources, or I can get ion thrusters. Ion thrusters are actually pretty decent to get, so I will, but I get them forever, so I will go for the robot modification because there will be some resource benefits. And I'm going to hold off from doing any upgrades on the planets because...
Complete.
There we go. I also need to decide... Oh yeah, I think I said I wasn't going to build any more robots here. Alright, so construction ship's going to do his thing. How am I liking Distant Stars so far? I like it quite a bit, Super K. I probably should disclose that I did get a copy from Paradox. So obviously there's somewhat of a financial interest of me saying that, oh yes, continue to buy, you know, as long as they keep giving me keys. But yeah, I think you guys know that my opinions are not bought so cheaply.
System survey complete.
So one of the things that I think works best for Distant Stars, and Random Guy exists, I'm sorry I didn't say hello, but thank you, Jess, for catching that before. Sensor echoes have indicated the presence of some kind of unidentified object deep within the atmosphere of this gas giant. So I think one of the things that's really important to keep in mind about Distant Stars, I can remember like a collective eye rolling in on the Paradox forums when this thing was announced. I thought it was really misguided. Because like obviously after Apocalypse, right, which totally transformed the look and feel of the game.
Construction complete.
I can sort of understand why some people would be like, you know, that it isn't all that. But I think that kind of misses the point. I think the big thing is that Apocalypse really turned. I think Apocalypse really kind of gave Stellaris sort of the facelift that it needed, especially with regards to borders. And now that that core experience is sort of down, now that they've got what they wanted and needed out of it, we get to focus on the things that kind of made the game worthwhile in the first place, or what the point of it was. So if you think about those initial turns, right, it's like Civilization with that first settler, or I mean, there's any number of games that you can sort of think of that that sort of fit this description. But basically, the thing that I've noticed the most, there's a twofold benefit to Distant Stars. In one sense, you get the additional content in terms of things like the anomalies and that, and that's just a good on its own. You know, more content is good. But I think one of the things that's really interesting about Distant Stars is that I am also, so even for things that I already know where they go, I'm paying more attention to the anomalies. So this process of, again, exploring different star systems, seeing what's going on, I'm reading all of the dialogue again, even if it's stuff that I already know. So it's made old content sort of a little bit fresher again, as well as adding some new content inside of it. And the one thing that's really important that they've done with the rework of the exploration system, of the anomalies and that, the fact that you can't lose a scientist to a failure now, and the fact that basically it's a time penalty. Like, if you think of it, you used to have like all these anomalies inside your borders where it's like, well, it's level 5, I don't want to lose my science ship and my scientists, so I'm going to go across the galaxy. And then the problem is now it's like, do I really want to fly across halfway across the galaxy to explore an anomaly that is within my borders? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, there aren't a lot of anomalies that make that trip worth it. So what they've done is they've made the cost of traveling across the galaxy, they've embedded that in the higher level anomaly, and it's just a much more sensible way of doing an exploration system. And it means that you're actually able to experience the anomalies and all of that on a more regular basis. Like, what it's done is it's taken all of that, like, tell your own science fiction story, and it's actually given you all the right reasons to experience that content. I think it's a really smart upgrade that they did, and it's one of these things that, I didn't really appreciate how much it would improve the game until I finally experienced it myself. So I guess eventually that'll just wear off. I mean, yeah, I suppose at some point, if you've played this game enough, you'll have memorized everyone. But the important thing to remember too, it's a little bit like the horizon signal, right? Like, if the horizon signal only triggers a certain number of times, and you want to explore what all the options do, you have to play the game for a certain number of hours before you're going to do that. And I mean, it is a full story pack, right? Like, this one was focused around adding, I don't know exactly how many anomalies that they added, but there's quite a bit. There's a new Leviathan. Hopefully we'll see that before the end of the cast, although I am pretty close to finishing up. But yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by the quality of the anomalies that they added, but just overall, like, the polish that they did to exploration. The one thing I love is that they've actually created it so that there are still some oh crap moments that you can have during exploration, but I'm not going to tell you guys where they pop up because I kind of want them to happen on stream so you can see what happens. All right, the ISS Gavinonis has picked up a strange... And by the way, to everybody who's still around from Ponce's cast, I'm sorry I've been, like, monologuing this whole time. You just happened to catch me at a time when I was close to finishing, and we were wrapping through a couple of optimization decisions in terms of, like, when you build certain buildings. So sorry about that. I do appreciate you guys hanging out. All right. The ISS Gavinonis has picked up a strange energy signature coming from somewhere deep inside the atmosphere of Zoad 5. It appears to originate from a structure of some kind, possibly the remains of an orbital station, but the atmospheric pressure makes it impossible to approach. Nevertheless, scans of the unique signature have yielded a large amount of valuable physics data. Okay, good news there. We'll build our last research station. Again, we're slowly building out our borders. This science ship's probably going to take a little too long to accomplish what I needed. This guy's on his way. But I think if I run out of space for expansion, I can take this guy to build on Alipade. And then we also have... I can still move north and things like that. If it really comes down to it as well, I can obviously send my fleets out to start clearing out some alien menaces as well. But I'll hold off for 5. I can upgrade it. And while I'm at it, one thing that I will make sure I do... I want to make sure
have been upgraded.
I want to make sure I have at least one building going on each planet, and then I also want to get some upgrades done where I can. I'm tempted to take the curators up on their research offer, but the catch here is I don't think I'm going to be generating enough energy to be able to justify the deal. So is this just a showcasing of the DLC or something? Not really. Not a mouse. Oh, sorry. Is it mouse? Mouse dare not.
Construction complete.
Yeah, not a mouse dare not price. Sorry, I really need to get bigger. I need to expand my my chat window. It's not so much showcasing. I tend to play the game rather slowly, as I'm sure you notice. So, especially because some of the content is mid-game and late game. This is me playing the game for sure, but obviously Paradox did give me a copy of the Distant Stars DLC, so I guess the best thing that I would say, like, when I got a copy of Synthetic Dawn, I played a Machine Empire, because that was the new thing. In terms of Distant Stars, I generated a galaxy that I thought would give me certain experiences, like seeing some L gates, but as it turns out, we've not been able to find any yet. I've been a little unlucky in terms of my exploration. Now with that in mind, like, I tend to read a lot of stuff in the game anyway, so as far as showcasing the new anomalies, like, that was going to happen no matter what, but that actually wasn't the best use of my minerals. Let's cancel that, and let's build a mining network first. So again, if you're unclear about the rationale behind that, upgrading this thing cost me 76 for 1 mineral, and that cost me 51 for 2. Playing words on your YouTube account. What's your YouTube account? If you don't mind me asking, and welcome. We're actually going to be wrapping up before too long, but I'll do my best to be something of a good host. All right, I'd like to upgrade that capital building when I can.
Construction complete.
And I don't think I can justify any more robot. Well, I kind of can, actually. All right, so you can work on the gene clinic, and then robot for there. Oh, I screwed this up, actually.
Anomaly found. Construction complete.
I don't have anywhere to put this guy. We briefly detected some unusual energy readings emanating from this planet. It might have been a glitch in our systems, or it could be a sign of something more. Yeah,
construction complete.
Wasn't the smartest place for me to put this species, as it turns out.
I would never want to belong to
Thank you very much for that follow, Super K. Definitely not a mouse. Stop asking. Not the best play. No, it's...
Construction complete.
It's all good. My name
found.
doesn't make sense as an online username. It only makes sense to a subset of people. So I think all internet usernames require some level of decoding. MFK14 is home to a number of exquisite impact craters. However, something breaks the visual uniformity of one of the larger craters. In the meantime, I've got an idle construction ship. We'll continue to move up. This is a fairly important system to get just because it's a bit of a choke point. Oop, and in 5 months we're going to be able to do some warmongering. So let's hold off here. Let's see... Okay, so we'll boot out a couple of the regular... Oop, that's experienced. Oh, do I not have... Apparently everybody else is experienced. I'm proud of you, men. Alright. So... I think I'm going to put all the destroyers in this fleet, actually. That's going to be 6 plus... however many people that one takes? 4. Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I want. All right. Good news is these guys will be getting some experienced ships, so. And this will be expensive, but we are gonna get ready for the next war. And while we're at it, so So let's see what it'll cost me to take just that whole bottom system. 420. That will leave me, well, I've got 840, so that's not terrible. $476. So the good news will be that I take them out. The bad news is that this will allow these guys to expand. So I at least want to do that. Indeed. So I'm going to try and be a little smarter about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the essential systems that give me some decent resources. So that's 84. Yeah, I can actually save myself quite a bit by... So the idea here is that I should be able to... I should basically be able to wipe out this empire if I successfully invade. Now, it's important to remember that I'm going to need to take out 3 planets for this. It's 4 planets. So it's not like... It's not a cakewalk. And what I want to do is I want to run a nice long string so that even though these guys, like I have a non-aggression pact with them, I want to make it so that they're not able to sort of move in and take up all this space, because then what I wind up doing is I kind of like carve out all of this for myself in principle. So I want to make sure that I'm able to kind of keep these choke points, and I'm willing to pay up in order to do that. But the big thing here, as nice as it is to take like Flan Nita and stuff like that, like I'm okay, like do I want to spend 84 on that when I can spend, you know, a couple of points to just expand on my own using my own ships for that. So I think I'll make these claims for sure. This is actually going to be a pretty tough war to prosecute. I don't think I'm going to be able to... What are we looking at here? Yeah, I can't see the armies on them. I think I should probably recruit a second batch, though. So Trappist should have... I have no idea why I keep going to the fire planet. Capital... Yeah, we'll do a batch of 4 for now. Alright, everything's kind of used up right now. So the good news is that this sector is going to be able to grow, and we're basically just gonna gobble up as much as we can. A really important thing here now too, so even though I'm losing some of my influence as a result of my my policies, what I'm going to be able to do once I take over this area, I'm actually going to be able to force relocate a few of my pops across my my systems. So basically it means that I'm going to have more scenarios like where is it? Like this one, where because I'm going to have some troublemakers on planets, what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to be diffusing them throughout the galaxy to make sure that they don't cause too much difficulty. But again, there are some priorities I need to work out. These guys are just straight up inferior, so that's that. I want to take out... So first thing I want to do is I want to take out their ports in terms of places where they can repair their ships and hide them. I think what we'll probably do is I'm going to take my main fleets and we'll go straight to the capital and then down to Sastrum or something like that. And basically I want to chase them to a point where they're not able to heal up. And then I can sort of systematically go planet by planet to you know, I'll take the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that won't cost me too much in terms of my soldiers, and then at that point we should be able to force peace them. I believe that they like things like this system will become neutral. So I'm gonna still want to send out like ships to expand out there, but the important thing is we're going to be able to subjugate these. We're not going to subjugate them in the sense of like the domination victory, but basically we're going to take all of their territory, we're going to get all those resources, and we'll be able to distribute the population in a way that it isn't too disruptive in terms of our unrest. How does this compare in CPU usage to Hearts of Iron? That's a really good question. I am playing on a reasonably good computer. But I am going to be done for the night. It's almost 11 o'clock, and I've been streaming probably about half an hour later than I intended. The system specs are really what you want to look at here. So let's see what Stellaris says. I also have like some opinions about the way that the two games are structured, but we'll deal with this at the moment. So the minimum requirements of Stellaris are, see, I would say that you're probably okay then. I'll give you the official word from Paradox, which is on the Steam page, and I'll do a comparison to Hearts of Iron 4, and then I'll tell you why I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. So the minimum processing requirements: Athlon 2 X4 640 or Intel Core 2 Quad 9400. So basically a 3 gigahertz processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM. I don't think it lists any built-in graphics cards, but AMD HD 5770 or NVIDIA GTX 460. So again, these are fairly modest. Hey, Johnny Big Time, we're actually just going to be wrapping up. But I'm happy to see you again. And we'll compare that to Hearts of Iron 4. And that requirement is what? Intel Core 2 Quad 9400 at 2.66 gigahertz or AMD Athlon 2 X4 650 at 320. So slightly higher processing requirements for Hearts of Iron 4. Now the reason why I think if you can run Hearts of Iron 4 all right, you should be okay with Stellaris is that Hearts of Iron 4 begins at the start of World War II. The entire world has been colonized, literally colonized in the case of the French and British empires and the Dutch. But basically there are armies and generals and activity that's going to be done for every single country in Hearts of Iron. And obviously they're going to grow as you get ready for the war. You're going to build up your military. But the key thing here is that Hearts of Iron 4 already has a lot of decisions that are being made for units at the beginning of the game. Whereas Stellaris, you have, your starting species. I mean, we began here and none of this was explored. And so obviously as the game goes on, especially on a large map, you're going to see more and more, you're going to see more activity, which means there's going to be more of a demand on your processor. But at the start of the game, there isn't as much that needs to be processed. So as always, I cannot supersede anything that's on the Steam requirements, and the Paradox wikis are a usually good place to get these kinds of ideas. But my opinion is that if you are okay at the start of Hearts of Iron 4, you're probably going to be okay at the start of Stellaris. And if you have any concerns, I would recommend playing on smaller maps for reasons that are fairly obvious. The fewer empires that you have, the fewer fleets that are flying around, the less of a demand of your processor. So I hope that helps you make a slightly more informed decision than you would have otherwise. But if you want to hold off and wait until you have some certainty, we're obviously happy to have you here so you can live vicariously through my playthroughs. Anyways, guys, I apologize. I know the end of that had a lot of talking and not as much Stellaris gameplay. I'll do a quick kind of a highlight of what we're going to be doing in the oncoming rounds. Let me just see. I don't think there's anything I can build here. I can build a farm. So the plan here is we're going to try and wipe these guys out. I'm going to have one army that I can work on right away, and then a second one which will hopefully be able to mop up the job. But basically, once the treaty is, or once the truce is over, we'll declare war again. And the main efforts are going to be taking the capital, moving into Sastram, then Castra. Now that's going to be all of their ports and potential ports. So then we're going to turn around and we're going to take Gribben. I talk too much, you are, Major. Yes, exactly, Eyes of Sin. So the idea here is I already have a very powerful fleet. It's 2K and then the change in the first star order. I'm not gonna put these guys on the front line, that's for sure. But the trick here is basically going to be, I'm going to take the opportunity to sort of flex my muscle in terms of Hypersonicu. Thank you very much for that follow. I'm going to take the opportunity to sort of hit them in the spot, hit them before they're able to build up their capacity. And then at that point, as long as I don't drag my feet in terms of taking the systems that I've claimed, I'll be okay. So probably what I'll do is once I take Gribben, I'm also going to move my armies in to take that planet right away. And then my armies should hopefully keep the anarchy down. But the other plan is I'm going to be taking these planets, and I'm going to sort of dump as many slaves as I can onto existing areas. Although I'll admit that'll be tough, because in terms of places for slaves, I've got 1, 2, 3, technically 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. Gotta be careful though, because if I put all 3 there right away, then they're gonna outbreed. 10, 11. Okay, so I've got about room for 11 slaves, and that species has 34. Yeah, I'm gonna have some unrest problems, I think. But I'll find some clever ways to weed out the troublemakers. Yeah, well, an art decree will cover mathematics. It'll cover computer science, economics. It's not the smartest things. Thank you very much, not a mouse. So anyways, guys, we're pretty much going to start with war right away. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I'll let you know what the plans are for the week right away. And by the way, guys, I especially thank you for the follows, because I have a secret goal for myself. If I can, by the end of the year, it'd be wonderful if we can get to 2,000 followers. It is just a number. It's not a really big deal if I don't. But I think it's nice to have goals, and I think it's an achievable one. So, you know, even if it turns out that it's not your thing and you head away, it does help me keep motivated towards that. So I appreciate you guys showing that support. If you guys have been following me because of Cultist Simulator, tomorrow is going to be a special stream for that, because it will be the very last time that we play this game in its Kickstarter backer phase. After Wednesday, well, basically Wednesday's the 30th. So on the 31st, the game gets released. There's going to be an AMA from Weather Factory with Lottie Bevan and Alexis Kennedy. It'll be on Reddit, and there will also be a stream on the Kickstarter so that you guys can see them in person. You can watch them hit the button. If you don't own the game, you'll be able to buy it right away, and I encourage you to do so, because if you buy it in the first week, you get all the DLC for life. I don't say for free, because obviously you're paying for the game. And again, you guys know that Cultist Simulator has been a really wonderful source of growth and a game that I really enjoy. If you guys don't know what Cultist Simulator is, if you enjoyed the Horizon Signal, the guy who wrote the Horizon Signal has a new game coming out from the company that he and his now fiancée founded, and they are wonderful people. It's a wonderful game. So I am definitely not going to be done with Cultist Simulator once it is out of that early stage, but it'll be our last chance to see it before it's unleashed into the world. And I think if I'm getting the number of subscribers and just general attention on YouTube that I am, I think it will be a fairly successful launch. But I hope I'm right in that. Friday is always an open one. I think if the people who like Assassin's Creed Unity are around for Friday, then I'll do Assassin's Creed Unity. And if not, I'll probably do BattleTech, because I'd like to finish one or the other before moving on to anything else. So if you guys like strategy and you don't like games like Cultist Simulator, Monday and Wednesday, well, today and Friday, we'll always be doing Stellaris on Mondays. If you guys are here for Cultist Simulator, that's going to be dedicated on Wednesday. After the release, I'm going to have to find a new spot for it. I might still just keep doing it on Wednesday, but I'll preserve the option. And then yeah, Friday is sort of my free day, although I have been doing some Saturday casts instead, either because I'm too tired on the Friday or something comes up, or I just want to stream again. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you hanging out. Let's find somebody to host. If you guys want some more Stellaris, obviously feel free to click that game button down below. Oh, okay. Actually, there's going to be some... I already know who I am hosting tonight, because I would be foolish if I didn't. But if you guys liked... so I know this is a somewhat controversial figure for some. If you guys are interested in programming stuff, the guy who made Braid and The Witness is working on his, I think it's a language that he's making, and he's tooling up for his next game. So Jonathan Blow is currently streaming. He goes by the name Naysayer88. If you guys like silly horror, W. Shand is just starting the Midnight Society, it looks like. He's always fun to watch. But a very dear friend of the stream, an excellent partnered broadcaster, Kilgore Trout, is streaming on GOG's channel, and he is playing System Shock. So I would be remiss if I did not support my namesake and put some more bodies inside the GOG.com channel. So if you want, feel free to bring that raid message. We're tired of System Talk, heard this place was better. Kilgore Trout is a really wonderful streamer, so even if you guys do wind up checking out John Blow's stream or Shan's, I do encourage you to hang out and give Kilgore a shot, because he is he's a lot of fun to watch. And then, as I said, obviously if you want more Stellaris, you can just click the game button down below, and you can see somebody else who's streaming tonight. But like I said, I definitely need to give the love to Kilgore and the GOG team. So have a good night, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.